The L. Ron Hubbard Writers and Illustrators of the Future contests have left a tremendous mark on the science fiction and fantasy field.
Both contests have been discovering and providing platform for both writers and illustrators for 4 decades.
It's impossible to measure the impact these contests have had on the field.
In the early days of the contest, in the mid-'80s, the workshop was held at a remote hotel at the end of Sag Harbor. It was Aldous Budrus and Orson Scott Card and myself teaching. And then from that remote, wind-blown place where we had the workshop, the actual event happened in New York City in Manhattan. And it was the only time in my life I've ever met Isaac Asimov. There was the physicist Sheldon Glashow, Mark Hamill. The array of important people attending and celebrating it was simply dazzling.
I remember the first time that I came to the workshop and illustrators began piling out of the elevator. We started reviewing the portfolios. It was Kelly Freese, Paul Lear, and Ron and I. And we just had a wonderful time. We enjoyed looking at the artwork. And then we got Bob Eggleton, Vin DeFay, Larry Elmore, and more illustrators became popular and famous as the time grew by, from last century to this century.
When somebody wins the contest, it's a really big deal. They get flown out to Hollywood for a week-long workshop. They spend time networking with each other and hanging out and learning from some of the biggest names in the writing and the illustrating field.
Through the years, the workshop has been held at a number of different places, including Seattle, including Houston NASA Center in Texas, including Cape Canaveral in Florida, where we all got to see a space shuttle launch. In addition to studying very helpful essays that L. Ron Hubbard wrote, the winners are sent out on the street to meet and get into a conversation with a stranger as unpredictable random input. They're also given a random object. It might be a nail, a penny, an ice cube, which they will use as springboards associated with the stranger they met in order to write a story from nothing. The stories they write, they write in 24 hours, which might seem like simply an exercise, but we tell them, no, Hubbard insisted that you can do this. And in proof of that, every year, at least half of the 24-hour stories that they write do later get revised and professionally published.
The gala is like the Oscars. You dress up fancy in a bow tie and a tuxedo, and the gals are all dressed up with the hairdos and the nice dresses. It's a big deal.
Their story gets published and their artwork gets published, and they have this gala book signing event, which is like the snazziest book signing that they're ever going to do. 40 years. It's amazing the track record this contest has. And that, after all that time, so many of the new writer winners and the new illustrator winners get their first moment in the sun.
Please welcome our Mistress of Ceremonies, Executive Director of Office Services, representing the literary works of L. Ron Hubbard, Ms. Gunhild Jacobs.
Thank you very much, and good evening. And welcome to all of you on this momentous occasion. stand to be acknowledged. Please also join me in welcoming a new Writers of the Future judge to our Blue Ribbon panel. He is an author of more than 25 works ranging from Tonight, we celebrate 4 decades of fulfilling a dream that has come to fruition. In particular, we honor this year's Writer and Illustrator winners, releasing their stories and art in the new Writers of the Future anthology. And let me remind you that the late Dr. Jerry Purnell's prediction in 1987 that a computer will win the Campbell and Hubbard Awards 25 years hence did not materialize. All winners here tonight are indeed very real. A testament to human creativity and a salute to the vision that started it all. Let's take a moment to appreciate the scope of what we're celebrating. 4 decades filled with dreams, aspirations, and unparalleled creativity. This endeavor, initiated in 1940 by L. Ron Hubbard and reinvigorated in 1983, began with a simple yet profound aim to discover and nurture new voices in writing and, later, in illustration. And so, create a brighter, more imaginative tomorrow. Mr. Hubbard's lifelong dedication to the arts and support for emerging artists laid the foundation for the Writers and the Illustrators of the Future contest. He once expressed, "Capturing my own dreams in words, paint, or music, and then seeing them live is the highest kind of excitement." With an early successful career, L. Ron Hubbard generously imparted his writing wisdom through articles and essays aimed at budding writers. By 24, he made history as the youngest president of the New York chapter of the American Fiction Guild, where he was instrumental in guiding new writers toward professional success. He shared his insights on writing at esteemed institutions like Harvard and George Washington University. His essays and articles remain a foundational aspect of the Writers of the Future workshop and the online Writers Workshop to this day. In 1940, during an exploratory voyage to Alaska, Hubbard created the Golden Pen Award, overseeing the contest and funding the prizes. This act of generosity was a precursor to the establishment of the Writers of the Future contest in 1983, which soon attracted science fiction and fantasy's brightest stars, including Frank Herbert, Theodore Sturgeon, C.L. Moore, Aldous Budrys, Robert Silverberg, and Dr. Gregory Benford. Then, in 1988, a roster of iconic figures in the field of art, such as Will Eisner, Bob Eggleton, Frank Kelly Freas, Jack Kirby, Paul Lear, Val Lakey Linden, and Frank Frazetta joined to help discover and inspire young artists through the Illustrators of the Future contest. L. Ron Hubbard recognized the transformative power of science fiction in inspiring real-world achievements, from satellite launches to lunar landings. He saw himself and his contemporaries as visionaries who helped spark humanity's journey to the stars. The programs were created to help fulfill human potential, help expand our vision, and help build a better tomorrow. And now, to add another milestone towards building that better tomorrow, please welcome to the stage to release L. Ron Hubbard Presents Writers of the Future Volume 40, the President Galaxy Press, Mr. John Goodwin.
Thank you. Tonight, we are not merely celebrating a milestone, We're adding another chapter to this legacy with the release of L. Ron Hubbard Presents Writers of the Future, Volume 40. Over 4 decades, this contest has published nearly 600 short stories in the 40 anthologies, earning rave reviews from the most respected corners of the literary world. Tangent has lauded it as one of the best original anthologies of the year, while SFF Audio places Writers of the Future in the triad of speculative fiction's most prestigious acknowledgments of literary excellence. Publishers Weekly starred review promises a glimpse of tomorrow's stars. And indeed, this year's anthology continues that tradition, introducing 12 writer winners and 12 illustrator winners whose imagination promises to shape our future narratives. In an era where the future of publishing seems as vast and variable as the universes we imagine, one thing remains unwavering. L. Ron Hubbard Presents Writers of the Future is a beacon of hope and excellence and destined to inspire for decades to come. It is with immense pride that I now unveil L. Ron Hubbard Presents Writers of the Future, Volume 40. Wasn't that amazing? Illustrators of the Future contest judge Dan Dos Santos created the cover art Starcatcher as an oil painting. Inspired by his visit to the La Brea tar pits here in Los Angeles, the image is proof of how relics of the past, or any era for that matter, can fuel the imagination of the future. Accompanying this visual masterpiece is S.M. Sterling's Shaman Dreams, an alternate history fantasy story that dives into the mysteries beneath the Lake of Death. We included 2 more bonus stories. Halo by Nancy Kress, a story of, yes, another outbreak, but this time it is a virus with an 80% infection rate that affects personality changes permanently. A surprisingly apropos and appealing read with another fresh take on the subject. The Last Drop, a very humorous SF short story co-written by contest founder L. Ron Hubbard and L. Sprague de Camp in the very early days of collaborative writing. Alongside these 2 stories, moving and personal essays that enrich this volume with their insights and reflections on the past 4 decades. Founding judge Gregory Benford with 40 years of Writers of the Future. And published finalist in Volume 1, Dean Wesley Smith, with It Seemed Like Just Yesterday. Unique to this volume, and for the first time in the history of the contest, we have a winning story written by two sisters from England. The anthology is a treasure trove of the speculative and the fantastical, from digital house cats to cosmic love stories, offering something for every reader, including a full-color art gallery up front. It's also a guide for aspiring artists, showcasing the caliber of storytelling that captures the judge's attention. To that end, you will receive additional hard-won advice in the form of educational essays on the craft and business of writing and illustration. L. Ron Hubbard's Illustrators of the Future at 35 by founding Illustrators of the Future judge Bob Eggleton. Reminding us that the Illustrators of the Future reaches a milestone this year as well, 35 years. And on writing and science fiction by L. Ron Hubbard. This is an excerpt of the last media interview L. Ron Hubbard did with the Rocky Mountain News, where he provides invaluable insight into the art and craft of writing. With last year's anthology success as an audiobook, we're thrilled to announce that Volume 40 will also be available in this format, brought to life by the accomplished Meskeman family in Victoria Summer. The book releases May 7th in stores throughout the United States and Canada, along with the audiobook from digital outlets. Both are available to pre-order now. In Australia, the UK, and South Africa, and online in New Zealand and throughout Asia, Europe, Central, and South America, it releases on the 9th of July. And for those of you here tonight, you will be able to get your printed copies so you can get them signed by all these writer and illustrator winners. In closing, as we open the pages of L. Ron Hubbard Presents Writers of the Future, Volume 40, we do so with the knowledge that the voices in this volume are the voices of tomorrow. The future is in your hands. And so, in the words of L. Ron Hubbard from the inaugural volume, I'm very proud to present the winners. Good luck to all other writers of the future, and good reading. Thank you.
And now, on to the awards. Each quarter, entrants from around the world submit their stories and illustrations to the contest, where the coordinating judges select honorable mentions, silver honorable mentions, semi-finalists, and finalists. Our blue ribbon panel of judges then narrows them down to the winners, 3 writers and 3 illustrators. Since it is a quarterly contest, the process repeats every 3 months. At the end of the year, a second phase of the illustrator contest begins. We commission each of the 12 artists to illustrate a winning story with a 30-day deadline. This is done under the art direction of contest coordinating judge Echo Turnick. These are the 12 illustrations that are judged for the grand prize and published alongside the winning stories in the annual anthology. And with the writer contest, only the quarterly first place winners compete for the grand prize. While all the winners get prestigious awards, only 1 writer and 1 illustrator will receive the L. Ron Hubbard Golden Pen and Golden Brush Awards, an achievement that can change a person's life completely. And so, To present our first awardees, please welcome Writers of the Future judges Kevin J. Anderson and Rebecca Mesta.
Originally from Alaska, Skye McKinnon is a second place winner with their story, The Edge Where My Light Is Cast. A very persistent and dedicated writer, Skye has submitted to the contest for more than 20 years. Skye is on their way to a lifelong dream of writing YA books, specifically talking animals.
Karina Jung has had the unique experience of studying and then teaching art at such places as an orphan school in Cambodia and a children's leukemia ward in Beijing. Karina believes that good art should not be just used for commercial use, but should also be found in hospitals, rescue centers, orphanages, and for persons with special needs to find their own light through their travails. Please join us in congratulating them both.
First, I would like to thank the staff of Writers of the Future who have spent this week treating us with such kindness and such eagerness to elevate everyone on this stage. And there are so many more people that have extended the same thing to us. L. Ron Hubbard for founding this contest to celebrate and develop the best authors and best artists. The judges who make this week and this entire contest possible. Everyone who has made me feel so very welcome in this beautiful city of Los Angeles. I would also like to thank my friends, my writing group, OC, my family, my whole family, including my beloved partner, Ren, who has come so far to be with me tonight. It's a strange thing to introduce yourself with a dream, but that is exactly what Writers of the Future is. To me, that means being connected to the stories that my parents and my teachers thought were good enough to share with me, that looked at a child that loved reading and said, this is what is worth sharing. These stories, all stories, are lenses through which we explore the world, to find our place in it, to find each other, to find ourselves, to share what we love and what we have learned. I'm here tonight to celebrate this win, but I'm also here to celebrate this community. That is what makes up this volume of Writers of the Future and what I'm so very proud to be a part of. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. I'm excited, honored, and humbled to accept the Illustrators of the Futures Award and to join the past winners whom I've been long admired and respected. Thank you, Mr. L. Ron Hubbard, for funding this wonderful community of creatives. Thank you, all the amazing staffs from Galaxy Press and the judges who've been working so hard for the contest. Thank you, Skye, for writing one of the most beautiful stories I've ever read. And thank you, my friends, my family, my love, Daniel, for making me a better person. I will bring this honor onto my journey as an artist and a clinician. And I welcome you to join me to design for the real world and to bring your talents to people, to create human-centered designs, to embrace cultural humility, diversity, to explore new possibilities, and most importantly, to love and have fun. Thank you.
Please welcome Writers of the Future Judge Dr. Nnedi Okorafor and Illustrators of the Future Judge Craig Elliott.
Jack Nash, author of first place winning story, Sun, Spirit, Snake, grew up in a small town in Utah with no stoplights or even a store for 8 miles. After grad school, he was hired to be a ghostwriter for a former African head of state. There he learned to take a new voice, convincing others he was someone else, who was a vast contrast to himself. Naturally, he wondered what he could achieve turning his hand to fiction. And now here he is.
Pedro N. from Portugal is a self-taught artist who picked up a brush at the age of 5 after first setting eyes on a painting by Frank Frazetta. When he got the call that he had won, he was sure he was being pranked. It took Joni several minutes to convince him otherwise. But winning the contest has assured him that he's on the right path now. Let's welcome them both to the stage.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being here and supporting this contest this evening. My first thanks must, of course, go to the most important person in this room, that is my beautiful wife, Nicole, whose endless encouragement, yes, please clap for her. Her endless encouragement for me to continue to study, to work hard, and most importantly, to never quit on a bad day is the reason I'm standing here tonight. I must also thank 2 individuals who played a very important role in getting me here. The first is my writing mentor, the extraordinary 3-time Bram Stoker award-winning author, Rena Mason. Her drill sergeant approach to feedback and very kind comments in my potential, it continues to inspire me and encourage me. The second is my writing tutor, Damien Johansson. His challenge for me to innovate and be different continue to inspire. Thank you to both of them. Thank you. I must also thank, of course, Pedro. It is quite extraordinary to see something that is the product of 2 imaginations. I could not have asked for a better co-creative to bring Sun, Spirit, Snake to life. So thank you, Pedro. And finally, I would like to thank, of course, all the wonderful folks at Author Service and Galaxy Press. But of course, the reason we are all assembled here today is L. Ron Hubbard. It is very easy to say that this is a crowning achievement. This is an achievement, but this is not the end. And Mr. Hubbard realized that new authors needed a platform to start from, but this was never meant to be the end of anyone's career. This is only the start. So with that, I want to say to all the stories to come, thank you.
There you go. Good evening, everyone. If I could go back in time and talk to 6-year-old myself, I'd imagine he would say something like, "What are you doing in my house?" I'm calling the cops. So, truth to be told, convincing him that I was a time traveler would be probably easier than explaining that one day I'd be good enough to be standing here with you. On that note, I must express my gratitude to Galaxy Press and to all the judges who saw something in my work, allowing me to be part of this event, and to everyone involved in making possible this whole experience. I also want to extend my heartfelt thanks to my wife, Miriam, and to my daughter, Lara. Not only are they the best family anyone could ask for, but they are also my biggest supporters. And speaking of family, sometimes our friends are like family too. In my case, I'm fortunate to have my friend here, Luciano, with me tonight. He traveled all the way from Portugal just to share this moment with me. Without him and without his support, I wouldn't make this far. So, Luciano, tonight this award is as much mine as it's yours. So thank you.
Please welcome Writers of the Future Judge Tim Powers and Illustrators of the Future Judge Brian C. Hales.
Tom Vandermolen is the author of the story Non-Zero. It was inspired largely by his time spent working nights for the Navy on an aircraft carrier in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. Who couldn't build on that? Born in Japan, he grew up in the USA, and he knew he was onto something when, instead of doing his math homework on an assignment sheet, his sixth grade teacher discovered that he had instead begun writing a novel. And admirably tolerantly, instead of yelling at him, she said, "I think you're onto something. I think you're going to turn out okay." And we should all be grateful that he had such a easygoing math teacher.
When growing up, Jennifer Mellon out of Utah thought her artistic skills didn't seem valid in the art world. She thankfully had the realization that what she was creating was illustration and not fine art. While pursuing illustration, she came across difficulties and then set her sights on a different career path. While on this path, she discovered a connection back to the illustration world, thankfully. And she now pursues both in creating fantastic worlds. Please welcome both to the stage.
Thank you. First, thanks to Galaxy Press for carrying on L. Ron Hubbard's dream of supporting new writers. Obviously, thanks to all the many judges, past and present, and particularly thanks to the staff who've taken such good care of us this week. Yes, totally. I have a special personal thanks to Jen, who basically did the impossible, creating an illustration for a story that could not be illustrated. So applaud her 3 times, please. Now, my story Non-Zero is at its core a story about isolation. And I am very lucky in that I have never been isolated in my own life or in my writing career. I'd like to thank some friends from long ago in my past who put up with all of my stuff, reading it, and still encouraging me, even through some really bad, rough drafts. By name, in particular, Jason, Roxanne, Ken, Charlotte, and Craig. Thank you. I want to thank my brothers, Roy, Glenn, and Larry, who instilled a sense of storytelling in me, taught me how to tell stories, actually, and also supported me through those early rough drafts. And thanks to my parents, who created a sense of storytelling within the entire family, but who also lived lives that were amazing enough to warrant novels in themselves. And I can tell you about that later, if you'd like. Then there's my sister, Diane. Diane was my first reader, and she has been gone for about 20 years now. I started submitting to this contest back in the 1980s when I was still in high school, and she was always first in line to read my stories, to offer critiques, and most of all, to offer encouragement. There is literally no one who would be happier for me today than my sister, Diane. So this award, and a large chunk of it, goes to her. Finally, there's my current first reader, my lovely wife, Yvette, there in the front row. She's my editor, my collaborator, and my life's traveling companion. She's also my publicist, so she may be giving you some cards later tonight. But she's my everything, really. So this award is for you, honey, but it's going to stay on my shelf. Thank you.
I'm very grateful to be here. This has been an amazing experience. Thank you to everyone who's involved with Writers and Illustrators of the Future and Galaxy Press. Thank you, judges, for everything that you've taught us and your professional experience and advice. Thank you to everyone who encouraged me to reach for my dream. I'm thankful to my husband, Nate, who has helped support me through this entire journey. And I'm thankful for Tom for writing his story. It was great having a challenge to illustrate. And I'm thankful for my family and from all my friends and all the support that they've given me. And I hope someday to help inspire others to strengthen their skills and to submit their work to Writers and Illustrators of the Future.
40 years ago, right here in Los Angeles, we embarked on an unprecedented literary adventure with the first award ceremony and the publication of the winning stories in L. Ron Hubbard Presents Writers of the Future, Volume 1. That first year was a pioneering moment. The program, still in its infancy, had run for just 3 quarters, producing 9 winners. With no 4th quarter, the concept of published finalists emerged, adding an additional 7 finalist stories for inclusion in the anthology. This was a time when all submissions came via mail, yes, on pieces of paper, when there were no benchmarks for what to expect, no digital insights into the contest, and no workshop. The inaugural year, however, was the first and only time winners were invited to the legendary Acker Mansion, the home of Forrest J. Ackerman and his sanctuary of a lifetime of collecting sci-fi memorabilia. It was during this visit that winners and finalists such as David Sindel, Dean Wesley Smith, Karen Joy Fowler, Leonard Carpenter, and Nina Kiriki Hoffman shared their experiences and the impact of having their stories published, unaware at the time of the remarkable paths their careers would take. The awards presentation was held at the iconic Chasen's restaurant, orchestrated by the first coordinating judge, Aldis Budrys, and the then Writers of the Future director. The event was graced by the presence of literary giants and judges for the contest: Robert Silverberg, Jack Williamson, Theodore Sturgeon, Gregory Benford, and Roger Zelazny. Also attending was the esteemed Ray Bradbury, who offered timeless advice to aspiring writers that we captured at the time. A moment we would like to share with you, and here it is.
I'm here with a legend in his own time, Mr. Ray Bradbury, a man who has accomplished such magnificent works as The Illustrated Man, Something Wicked This Way Come, the Martian Chronicles. After all this time, and in view of the fact that we have a celebration here tonight for new writers, what advice would you want to give to new writers starting out?
Oh, the same advice I took from others when I was young. Fall in love and stay in love and do what you love. And that's a good life, isn't it? If you just, I fell in love with science fiction when I was 8. The architectures of the future I saw on the covers of the science fiction magazines. The World's Fairs I went to, which illustrated those science fictions in architecture. So I began to write when I was 12, and I wrote every day of my life, but I always wrote about things I cared about. Landing on the moon, colonizing Mars, going with John Carter various places, swinging with Tarzan in the trees. So I never gave up on those loves. And as a result, I've had a good life. So that's the best advice you can give to a writer. Don't write for money, write out of love about something that you really care about. And that way, you're going to do good work.
I know that you're a person that likes to help young writers yourself, similar to L. Ron Hubbard and other authors that are trying to give these new writers a break in a world that can be less than kind to the artist. Why do people such as yourself want to do this?
Well, you have to pass on the gift. Other people influenced me when I was 18 and 19. Henry Kuttner was one of my teachers, a friend. Lee Brackett, Edmund Hamilton. They all influenced me and put up with me. So therefore, now that I'm older, I have to do the same thing for kids who are coming up. Otherwise, I'd feel guilty, wouldn't I? I'd feel terrible. And anyway, it's fun. If you find a really good, talented young person, as I discovered 25, 30 years ago, Charles Beaumont, who was just a kid, about 22 years old, showed me his first short story. I said, that's wonderful. So it was very easy to help him because he was helping himself, and he was full of pomegranate seeds.
L. Ron Hubbard Presents Writers of the Future Volume 1, with its winning and finalist stories, was released as well at the event. With the launch of this volume, we not only celebrated the winning entries, but also introduced a platform for emerging talent, complemented by 4 insightful essays on writing from 4 of the founding judges. L. Ron Hubbard wrote the introduction to Volume 1, and as for illustrations, we had 5 burgeoning artists chosen to bring the stories to life, foreshadowing the Illustrators of the Future contest. Tonight, we are honored by the presence of authors from that pioneering year. Please join me in acknowledging some of the 40-year alumni who are here with us tonight: Dean Wesley Smith, Nina Karicki Hoffman, and Leonard Carpenter. To encapsulate the essence of triumph in that first year and to reflect on the contest's monumental impact on just one of hundreds of winners and finalists who have forged professional writing careers, please welcome to the stage Dean Wesley Smith.
Wow, I don't look the same on that video. Thank you very much. Well, you just saw a glimpse of that year for the first year of Writers of the Future contest. And that changed just about everything for me, I have to admit it. And you can tell how young I was, but actually in that video, I was 34 years old. I was just a baby. I really had no idea what any of this was about. I don't think anybody does when you come in. I don't know about you winners this year, but I had no clue. But the course had paid for all my expenses to Hollywood. and I got to go to the Ackermanian mansion. And I just figured it had to be something. So, and there I was at the awards. I was wearing the only sports jacket I owned. And the two front tables, I recognized Frederick Pohl, Harlan Ellison, Robert Silverberg, Greg Benford, Roger Zelazny, and Jack Williamson. I mean, that's just, gosh, wow, anybody who understands the history of science fiction. And so little did I know, as the years went by, I would become friends and work with all of them. At one point, Aldous Budrus came up to me at my table where all the young writers were sitting in the back of the room and said, "Dean, I want you to be the first to cross the stage." Actually, what he really wanted is he felt I was old enough to make it up the one step, unlike without tripping. I said, sure. A few minutes later, AJ called up Roger Zelazny, Robert Silverberg, and Greg Benford to the small stage. Actually, he kind of rounded them up like a cowboy herding cats. It was really fun to watch him try to herd those best-selling writers to do anything. And Roger and Bob refused to even put down their drinks to come up on the stage. I understand that now after 40 years. Al just gave a short speech thanking L. Ron Hubbard for sponsoring the contest and helping the new writers. And then he called my name and read the title of my short story. And I stepped up that one step on the stage without tripping. And I got my framed award, shook Greg Benford's hand, and that was that. At the time, I never once thought the contest and the award, with that award ceremony, would grow into what it is today. Not that I didn't believe it couldn't. I'm just not smart enough to imagine this 40 years ago. But it did, and here we are. So what happened to me over the last 40 years? Well, to put it simply, a lot. 1 month after the ceremony, my house burnt down. And I lost all of my unpublished writing, which, considering I was Writers of the Future, was pretty much everything, including my two written novels. I ended up a year later trying to get back to writing a little bit, working as an assistant manager of a restaurant, when somehow AJ found the phone number of the restaurant, and it was like midnight, and he called and asked me to attend a special writers workshop with Frederick Pohl, Gene Wolfe, Jack Williamson, and Aldous Budrus himself as instructors. And there was only going to be 12 of us students. I said, sure, without even asking a question. That was the experiment that the Writers of the Future contest was testing. The one that came up with the workshop using L. Ron Hubbard's work that you winners have gone through here. And so with every year now that you do it, we were called the lab rats, for back a better way of putting it, the 12 of us. Well, AJ managed to tell me after I said, sure, that it was in 1 week in Taos, New Mexico. I dropped everything and headed out to New Mexico the very next day. Actually, dropping everything means I quit my job. So I did. Well, who's not going to with those, God's teaching? Al just found somehow along the way, I stopped at my father's place in Arizona, and Al just found my father's phone number and called me in Arizona. I don't know how he did this stuff to this day. And he asked me to pick up a writer in Albuquerque who had flown into Albuquerque and couldn't find a way to Taos. And I was driving, so I said, sure. And that's when I met the love of my life, Christine Catherine Rush. Yes, if you put it together, AJ asked me to pick up my wife. I can't imagine my writing journey without her walking beside me these last 38 years. As for my writing, well, I've been a fan of the pulp writers forever, and I followed in the footsteps of L. Ron Hubbard's pulp writing career. really frighteningly close, actually. I wrote across all genres, and under so many pen names, we still haven't tracked them all down. Not kidding. I have written over 200 novels and well over 500 short stories. 1 year of... You want the secret? Live for 40 years and keep typing. Really is that simple. But I have a crazy streak. 1 year alone, in my 70th year, from my 70th birthday to my 71st birthday, I published over 70 major books and another 64 short stories. So when someone tells you, nah, that's not possible, just say, no, I've seen a guy that did that. I've hit just about every bestseller list under the one name or another, and a lot of names on bestseller lists. And 1 year for New York publishers back in the 90s, I published 13 novels for 6 different publishers. I have my own monthly magazine, because I'm really crazy, with 70,000 words of my own work in it every month. Yeah, I really am that crazy. In 2010, I was invited to be a judge Writers of the Future contest for the second time, because the first time they invited me, I was the editor of Strange New Worlds, Star Trek Strange New Worlds, which was a contest patterned after what L. Ron Hubbard did here. We just stole the idea and did it for Star Trek writers. And I was the editor, so I couldn't, for 10 years, I couldn't be a judge here because I was the judge there. By my count, I have attended 21 of these 39, I guess we're 40 now, right? Award ceremonies so far, including the one in the United Nations, which was a great fun. I sat in Chad's seat. I think that's a country. I have written articles and stories for a lot of the anthologies, and I do a lot of teaching. My wife and I have an entire online workshop that has about 300 online classes of anything from publishing. And almost all the classes at one point or another, I tell them, you better submit to Writers of the Future contest. Trust me. So would I be here without the Writers of the Future contest? I honestly don't know. I'm crazy enough, but I kind of doubt it. L. Ron Hubbard had the foresight and the passion for nurturing new talent, and he created this incredibly successful platform with this contest. I'll just buttress Jack Williamson, who basically told AJ that if he didn't publish my story, he wouldn't be a judge. Both of them wanted to include my story, Jack more than AJ. And over the years, they became wonderful friends and mentors for decades to come. So, to be honest, it's been a great career. I'm not done yet. And it's been a great life and an amazing 40 years. Here's to another 40 years. Thank you.
Please welcome Writers of the Future Judge Nina Kariki Hoffman and Illustrators of the Future Judge Brittany Jackson.
Galen Westlake, a lawyer from Ontario, Canada, entered the contest a whopping 27 times before winning second place with his story, The Imagulus. He writes stories during his commute on the train and gauges whether his story needs a little work when the stranger behind him loses interest and stops reading over his shoulder. Galen's legal writing has been published, and he is now getting professional publications for his fiction.
Arthur Haywood from Pennsylvania got a surprise for his birthday last year. The call that he would be a winner of the Illustrator of the Future contest. Raised by parents who deeply value literacy, Arthur has long understood the power of storytelling and the importance of promoting books and reading through cover illustrations. His murals and paintings depicting students of diversity in various Backgrounds can be seen from Philadelphia to Paris, France. Please congratulate them both.
You'll have to forgive my enthusiasm. I think the last time I won a trophy, I was in Little League Baseball. It's gorgeous, it's worth the wait. I'd like to thank Ralph Gorham, the inventor of the spell check. Without which, I don't know that I ever would have been able to write anything fit for human consumption. But my writers group, they would tell you it took a lot more than that. They say it takes a village to raise a child. Well, it takes an entire tribe of talented writers to teach this old kid how to assemble a story. For me, that tribe was the One Ring. I'd like to thank them, and if you should happen to recognize any of their names, it's because they've been on this stage before me or they're on the cover of the books that you read. They are Leah Ning, Elizabeth Ticknor, Alicia Kay, Elise Stevens, and my cacophony brothers, Mike Wyatt Jr. and Ari Officer, but also my first and longest running crit partner, who I appreciate, I have to share with about a third of the people in this audience, the editor extraordinaire, Rebecca Treasure. Yeah. And speaking of editors, I'd like to thank my first editor, my mother, a school teacher who introduced me to writing. A capital letter begins a sentence, a period ends it. She drilled it into my brain. I'm just very thankful that she doesn't text. That way she doesn't have to witness the grammatical decline of humanity. I'd like to thank Ron Hubbard, Author Services and Galaxy Press, for many things, but in particular for the many years that they gave me the gift of a deadline, without which in my world nothing ever happens. But also for this amazing week. I knew I would learn a ton. I knew that the judges would be absolutely life-changing. Thank you, Jody. Thank you, Rob. Thank you so many. But I was completely unprepared for how many amazing memories I would take away from this week. Please know that I will hold them in my heart always. I would like to thank Arthur Haywood, contest winner and illustrator of my story. His work is simply incredible, but you don't need some guy on a stage to tell you that. Volume 40 is gonna come out, you're gonna hold it in your hands, and then you will know what I know, that Mr. Haywood is taking the art world by storm. I would like to thank my two sons, Reed and Asher. And in hindsight, I probably should have thanked them earlier because by now they figured out their dad is giving a speech and they've already tuned him out. But nonetheless, I'd like to thank them for reminding me on an almost daily basis that imagination is something inherent and not something that we should have to fight so hard for. I'd also like to thank them for this gray hair I've got coming in. I know they've had a hand in that. But the joke's on them because I'm going to find a way to make this look good. I'd like to thank my annoying sister who went and got a book published before me. Those of you who have overachieving siblings will know my pain, but also the lifelong inspiration that they provide. I'd like to thank my father who got me that first spell check, has had my back his entire life. I owe my parents everything. And lastly, I'd like to thank my beautiful wife, Cindy, for much more than I could ever cover here. But I did want to say this. The chance to build a life with her, a home and a family, has been, continues to be, and will always be the greatest story I've ever known. It has been an honor. Thank you.
I would like to thank L. Ron Hubbard for creating this incredible opportunity for writers and illustrators, and to his estate and all those at Galaxy Press, writers and illustrators of the future, and volunteers for continuing to support his vision and us. I would like to thank Galen for writing such an incredible story about keeping imagination alive. And I would like to thank my family, friends, and teachers for their support, love, and inspiration. Much of my art is inspired by my upbringing. Having a father who is a state senator has organized reading camps, and a mother who was president of the school board has shown me how the reading can impact and influence others' lives and opening up opportunities. My illustrations are a way of sharing the love of reading with others. I'm blessed to have my family here tonight, including my mother, father, my Aunt Sonia, my cousins Danielle and Brianne, my friend Tony, and my mentor, Daniel Hopkins, who's been my teacher since I was a teenager in his graffiti class in Philadelphia. It is very meaningful that you're here with me tonight. This award feels like a dream to me, from emailing Dan Dos Santos questions when I was 17 to being in a book with his art on the cover. It's an unbelievable journey for me. Congratulations to all the fellow winners that have created such impressive writing and illustrations. I'm a fan. And deep down, I'm a fan of this genre on a personal level. Even recent stories such as those by Sanderson have helped me through difficult times. The art, writing, poetry fuels me on a personal level on a day-to-day basis. And it shows me to believe in limitless possibilities. So I would like to thank all the artists, writers, and publishing professionals out there for what they contribute to this genre. And fantasy is powerful because the world we believe in is the world we exist in. And as writers and illustrators of the future, I look forward to the future that we'll build together. This is to us.
And now please welcome Writers of the Future judge, Todd McCaffrey.
From Army military intelligence officer who served in Desert Storm to small animal veterinarian, Stephanie Talent jokingly calls herself a vet. She turned to writing speculative fiction after finding an old handmade book from her 9-year-old self, who perhaps had some clever ideas to share. Her story, Life and Death and Love in the Bayou, was a first-place winner. Ashley Cassidy is a digital illustrator, educator, and painter out of Dallas, Texas. She began art at a young age, influenced by novels, video games, and animated films. Ashley is a dedicated teacher and unfortunately is unable to travel to LA for the event this year. We wish her the best, and the best on her journey with art. Please welcome Stephanie to the stage.
Wow, first thing, it's amazing. I got up those steps without tripping. Go me. So, this is the fanciest dress I think I've ever worn in my life. Thank you guys. Thank you everybody else just so much, from the instructors, from, Author Services, thanks to L. Ron Hubbard for creating this contest. I mean, it's just been a wonderful experience so far, and this is like a huge culmination. This is amazing. So thank you. I'd also like to say thank you to Ashley. I really, really, really hope she's watching this. Her illustration just captured my character so well, and I'm so grateful for that. To my husband, Dave, who's sitting down here. I love you, babe. I have to say thank you for ignoring, or at least tolerating, all the times when you asked if I wanted to stop and have dinner or if I wanted to go relax, and I was like, writing, and he let me get ahead with, and keep on writing. Thank you to my family, the members who are here and the members who unfortunately aren't. Your belief in me means the world. Melanie, sister of my heart, if I say anything else, I'm going to start crying. So that's fine. To my writing friends, Julie, I know you also wanted to be here with me. Thank you. You are here in my heart. Cindy, we do weekly Zooms. Babe, look forward to it next week. We got a lot to talk about. So thank you guys for all your help and support. And finally, I want to say thank you to Dean Wesley Smith and Christine Catherine Rush. I would not be here without you guys. I don't know if you know that or if I feel that, but I want you to know that this is my chance to tell you in front of all these people and in front of all the people who are watching this. So thank you. It's from my heart. Everything I've learned from you, everything I'm still learning. Thank you.
To present the next award, please welcome Writers of the Future Judge, Dr. Robert J. Sawyer, and Illustrators of the Future Judge, Bob Eggleton.
Lance Robinson originally entered the contest in 2008. Then life took him in another direction. That was until 2 years ago when he began writing again and promptly won first place with his story, 5 Days Until Sunset. By day, Lance is an environmental social scientist, and by hobby, he is an avid astronomy and space travel nut.
Stephen Bentley was born in Leeds, England, and currently resides in Portland, Oregon. He began his illustrating career by writing on the walls with crayons until his father provided him with some paper to draw on and told him not to do that anymore. Stephen aspired to work in the arts since he found out in art school there were jobs that allow people to draw and paint for a living. Please congratulate them both.
First, I would like to thank and acknowledge the Indigenous peoples who, for thousands of years, cared for this land where we're meeting. In Hollywood specifically, and the Los Angeles area generally, the Tongva, the Tataviam, the Serrano, the Quiche, and the Chumash peoples. I would like to thank the whole Writers and Illustrators of the Future team for what you have done little by little over the past 40 years, for what you have created with this contest. You should be truly proud. I'd like to thank our instructors this week, and a special thanks to Rob Sawyer for all of the community building that he's done for the SF community in Canada. I want to thank Professor Nick Ruddick, who was the first one to teach a science fiction course at the University of Regina. And he gave me some key encouragement at a critical moment in my writing journey. I want to thank my kids, Elham and Richard. I'd like to thank Alejandra for the encouragement they've given me. And I especially want to thank my parents, who for my 15th birthday bought me a typewriter. Congratulations to all the other writer and illustrator winners this year. I look forward to seeing what you all create in the years to come.
Hello. I'm going to keep this real short. I've written a few things down to make sure I don't forget anyone. Thank you, Mr. Hubbard, for having this competition and the opportunity it's afforded us all. Thank you to Galaxy Press and all the staff for all the hard work. It's been a great week, and I couldn't have wished for a better time. Thank you to all my friends and family for your support over the years. I got a message from my brother today that said, "Not bad, bruv," and that's as good as it gets, I guess. I want to thank Cindy, my wife, for putting up with all my nonsense over the years. Couldn't have done it without you. And finally, I want to thank my dad. He supported me for all these years. He's not with us anymore, which is a shame because he'd be proud as punch to see me here tonight. Thank you, everybody.
We've embarked on this journey from L. Ron Hubbard's original vision to the moment our Volume 1 winners took their first steps onto the stage. But what has unfolded since those early days? Let me paint you the picture of 40 years for writers of the future. From the humble beginnings of a few hundred stories submitted in that first year, we have by now received a staggering 1.5 billion words of imagination, adventure, and dreams penned onto paper. And no, I am not going to tell you how many stories that translates into. The stories meticulously read by 4 coordinating judges, Aldis Budrys, Dave Wolverton, Katie Wentworth, Jody Lynn Nye, and aided by 4 first readers, represent a full 10 years of continuous reading. As we embrace the digital era, the contest's reach and resources expanded. In 2011, we launched the Writers and Illustrators of the Future Forum, now boasting well over 50,000 posts and millions of visitors sharing their passion for storytelling and art. Our podcast, initiated in April 2019, has received 4 People's Choice Podcast Award nominations for its nearly 300 episodes that have amassed over 64 million downloads. The online workshop introduced in 2020 has enlightened nearly 9,000 students from over 100 countries, earning a 4.7-star rating. Our events, Our events have been held in prominent locations such as the United Nations, Library of Congress, San Diego Aerospace Museum, Kennedy Space Center, the Science Fiction Museum in Seattle, and of course, here in Hollywood, California, where it has been held for almost 2 decades. Our judges panel is and has always been a veritable who's who of legends of speculative fiction. And now consider the impact. 559 writer winners and published finalists have published over 8,000 books and short stories, including 36 New York Times bestsellers, totaling around 60 million copies sold. Enough pages to encircle the earth nearly 3 times. And the accolades to those winners? Over 100 prominent writing awards, including 8 Hugos, 14 Nebulas, 5 World Fantasy Awards, 2 Philip K. Dick Awards, 3 John W. Campbell Awards for Best New Writer, 1 Penn Faulkner Award, 1 Bram Stoker Award, 6 British Science Fiction Awards, 21 Dietmar Awards, 12 Aurealis Awards, and yes, even 5 Rita Romance Awards for those of you who remember Joe Beverly. It is clear L. Ron Hubbard's vision didn't just take root. It flourished, blossomed, and now continues to inspire a world where dreams are not just dreamt, but realized. And our journey of discovery, creativity, and achievement is far from over. We are here to stay, to grow, and to continue shaping the world as we know it. And now for the next awards presentation, please welcome Writers of the Future Judge Orson Scott Card and Actor and Writers of the Future Volume 40 narrator Jim Maskiman.
Rosalind Robillard won first place with their story, The Wall Isn't a Circle. Rosalind is actually a pen name for the collaborative writing team Rose and Alice Robillard, 2 sisters who grew up in an English village. Writing fantastical stories was their way to return to their childhood dreamy ancient woodland and the salty marshes of the Essex coastline.
Honored to share the stage with Orson Scott Card. I have to, yes, please. So I have to give in to the temptation to present as Orson Scott Picard.
Gilly Rivera from Central Valley, California, is a teenager attending the Laguna College of Art and Design. Her parents, like any good parents, let her paint murals on her bedroom walls when she was younger. She did eventually move on to Kansas. Canvas, rather. The canvas was from Kansas. Her Illustrators of the Future piece is her first time working in the digital medium. Please welcome all 3 to the stage.
Firstly, we'd like to say a huge thank you to everyone at Author Services and Galaxy Press for an amazing week of learning and development. We'd also like to say a huge thank you to all of the judges who spent their time sharing all of their knowledge and guidance with us. We've really appreciated everything that you've taught us this week.
We'd also like to say thank you to Gelly for her absolutely incredible art. We're very glad that you were the person who illustrated our story. We'd like to thank our parents for giving us such a creative upbringing and for continuing to support us. And we'd like to thank our partners, Chris and Sam, for everything that you do. Thank you for being our first readers. Thank you for all of your honest criticism. And thank you for putting up with our very long Zoom calls that go on long into the evening. Thank you.
First of all, I'd love to thank my mom and dad for helping me pursue my art. Other kids couldn't go out for the weekend because they couldn't finish their homework. I couldn't go out for the weekend because my dad told me I didn't draw enough. I just want to say thank you for believing in me, and thank you for treating my dream like any other. And I'd also like to thank the judges from Illustrator of the Future for your knowledge and wisdom and opening my eyes to dream bigger for my future. And thank you so much, Rose and Alice. When you guys get the book, you guys should totally go read The Wall Isn't a Circle. It's absolutely amazing. I'm their #1 fan. Thank you.
Please welcome Writers of the Future Judge S.M. Sterling and Illustrators of the Future Judge Lazarus Jennings.
Amir Argura is the third-place winner with his story Dakota. Born and raised in Connecticut, Amir fell in love with fantasy and science fiction after his father would recount the latest audiobook he had just finished. Said audiobooks were often written by Writers of the Future judges or winners. And now, years later, Amir finds himself on this stage among those authors from his childhood.
Hailing all the way from a sheep farm on the southernmost point of the South Island of New Zealand, Connor Chamberlain had a view of distant mountains and dense forests. He aspires to have his art grace book covers and trading cards. He paints a lot of fan art for Brandon Sanderson series. Hi, Brandon. This is Connor's first time in the United States. Let's give them both a big welcome to the stage.
Hello. Yeah. Well, I have a lot of people to thank. First, with Connor here, who made some stunning artwork, which elevated my piece and made it worth writing. Thank you, Connor. To my mother, Saul, and my sister, Layla, who put up with me for far too long, and were the women in my life who guided me. Thank you. To my grandmother, Maria, who came all the way from Puerto Rico to see me, a librarian who taught me the love of books and storytelling. Thank you so, so much. To Rosie, my partner in all things, including writing and life, I love you. Thank you. I wouldn't be here without you. And of course, to the people here who made this possible, the judges, all the staff at Author Services and Galaxy Press, from Maliva to Rob, to Jody and Joni, to the Goodwins and everybody, and Mitch, thank you. And of course, to Mr. Hubbard for creating this competition and all the people who uphold its stewardship and its mission statement, thank you. And finally, he's gonna hate this very much, a special beat and a special thank you to my father. He's sitting right there, cameraman. I fell in love with sci-fi and fantasy through my father's retelling. He would tell me stories he heard in his audiobook. He'd often make them better. I fell in love with the greats like Stephen King, Orson Scott Card, Patrick Rutherford, Brandon Sanderson, Isaac Asimov, and all the greats through his eyes and through his retelling. I would not be on the stage or be able to pursue any of my writing dreams without his kindness, his endless sacrifices, and his selflessness. Dad, however proud you are of me, I am 1,000,000 times more proud of you. Thank you.
Kia ora tātou. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I want to first start by thanking the estate of Mr. L. Ron Hubbard for planting the seeds of the future of art and authorship. The people at Galaxy Press for looking after us not only this week, but all the months leading up to it, and all the encouragement over the years. I've entered 8 or 9 times, and every quarter there was an email there from Joni telling me to get in there. Amir, this man has a philosopher's stone in his possession because he can turn words into gold, and there was nothing more inspiring than having a phenomenal book to illustrate. All the judges, thank you for your time and wisdom and for showing us the path to hopefully one day get where you guys are. My family, my mum for being my biggest cheerleader and always supporting me. My dad for teaching me the value of hard work, no matter what the job is. My brother for being an inspiration, a great artist himself, and somebody that I can share the trials of being a creative with. My lovely mother-in-law for coming all the way from New Zealand to support me here in Hollywood. And my beautiful wife. Deb. And my beautiful wife, not for supporting me. She does something far more important than that. She tolerates me. Because it'll be 2 a.m. and I've still got the light on and I'm still drawing in bed while we're watching a movie. I'm intolerable when she puts up with me, which is phenomenal. This is a ludicrous honor. Thank you so much.
Please welcome Writers of the Future Judge Mark Leslie Lefebvre and 2-time Primetime Emmy nominee and producer, director, and actress Lee Purcell.
John Eric Sliker of Missoula, Montana, is a 3rd place winner with his story, Squiddy. Persistence pays off. John Eric entered the contest 14 times before he won. He's an active member of the Writers of the Future Forum, did the online workshop, and is an avid listener of the podcast. He worked hard, taking advice from Dave Farland, who would be very proud of John Eric's accomplishments.
Born and raised in Texas, Tyler Vale has been drawing since he was a kid. At the age of 22, he realized people were doing art as an actual career. Tyler has additional challenges as an artist due to a rare condition of not being able to visualize images in your head. But that has not stopped him from creating fantastical art. Please welcome them both to the stage.
Wanting nothing more than a career as a pro author, I sought out mentors and resources to fast track my development. Fortunately for me, I needn't search far. For when L. Ron Hubbard established the Writers of the Future contest, he ingrained within his DNA a pay it forward ethos that shines a light for any willing writer who wishes to follow. Thank you, L. Ron Hubbard. I first learned about the contest from Dave Farland. Little did I know that chance opportunity meeting him at my local con would alter the trajectory of my life. He lived and breathed the pay it forward ethos. That breath continues to be felt. Thank you to all those at Author Services. You make this contest shine. Thank you to all the judges, your stories, your shared wisdom, for the valuable time you've given us and this contest. Thank you to all the forumites of the Writers of the Future Forum and the Wolfpack Writing Group. Keep writing, keep writing, keep writing, and you better submit. The world needs your stories. You'll get here or pro out. Either way, it's a win. Thank you, Wolf Moon. After winning this contest in Volume 35, after years in the writing trenches, you could have easily kept your hard-earned secrets to yourself. Thank you for not. Thank you, Tyler Vale. Because, dude, your illustration of Squiddy is hauntingly, achingly stunning. In it, you got to the core of the feelings and the vibes that I aim to soak my story through. Jocelyn is more alive because of your talent. Thank you, Read Write Good Writing Group, and its OG, Daniel Lincoln Hanna, all talented writers yourselves. Thank you, Cece Black, Charles McClay, Wes Sampson, Alicia Kay, for critiquing Squiddy. Without your thoughtful critiques, I would not be standing here. Thank you to my mom, my dad, my sister. All my life, I've felt your love. Never have you made me feel not enough. To my son, Ryder, I love you. I smile and I laugh and I have so much joy because of you. You inspire me to strive to be the best I can, and when I fail, as we all do, I dust myself off because of you. I can think of no better purpose than to support whatever destiny you shape for yourself. To my wife, my wise first reader, Ashley, your beauty from within is without compare. I wouldn't be here without your constant love and cheerleading. You are intertwined with any success that I achieve. I adore you. I'm lucky to be with you. The best decision I've ever made was to ask to share my life with you. Thank you.
Look at all those beautiful faces out there. Several years ago, I decided I wanted to pursue illustration as a career, and wow, did I not realize how difficult it would be. From the late nights ups painting, to the thousands of hours studying, to trying to get references from my illustrations, to asking other artists for critiques every chance I had, from having to work day jobs to pay the bills, and so many other struggles. The reason I bring this up is because it would be impossible for us to achieve what we have without the help from other people and the gift of them paying it forward for us. And with that, I have a long list of people to thank for helping me on my path. I'd like to start with L. Ron Hubbard, who created this amazing event so I and so many other artists could stand on this stage and be honored. What a wonderful legacy to leave behind. To my better half and wife, Liberty, who always supports me and deals with my antics. She's the most important person in the world to me. To my parents for encouraging me to follow my dreams, for Doni and all her positivity, to Echo for her amazing art directing and pushing me to improve my art. Thank you, Echo. To all the other people who brought this event to life and continue to be a positive reinforcement for writing and illustration, including John, Ria, Maliva, Carmen, all of the judges, and other people working behind the scenes. I'd also like to thank my friends for encouraging me to sign up despite me thinking I would not win the contest. To the writer of the story I illustrated, John Eric. It was an amazing story. Please, he deserves it. And finally, to all the amazing runner-up and honorable mentions, keep submitting to the contest and continue to better your art. I'd like to end with a quote by L. Ron Hubbard. Making a friend is an incredible contribution to not only yourself and your friend, but to the entire world. Never sell it short. A man is as rich as he has friends. Thank you.
To present awards, letters of congratulations, and proclamations, please welcome Vice President, Public Affairs, Author Services Incorporated, Ms. Emily Goodwin.
So far tonight, we have traveled in time from the inception of the contest to celebrating 4 decades of remarkable achievements. This brings us to the present, where congratulatory messages have been pouring in from around the globe. From industry professionals to authors, publishers, organizations, and superfans, we received an influx of letters of recognition acknowledging the contest's 40 years. Then there are the proclamations from city and state officials declaring April 21st through 27th as Writers of the Future Week. From Mayor R.X. Paris in Lancaster, California, to Vanessa L. Gibson in the Bronx, New York, a unified message echoes in appreciation for all the contest has accomplished. And just this afternoon, a flag was flown over the U.S. Capitol in honor of the 40th anniversary of L. Ron Hubbard's Writers of the Future. Furthermore, recognitions arrived from esteemed organizations such as the commendation from the Costa Rican mayor of Oriamuno for supporting new generations of successful writers and illustrators around the world. To the CEO of FanX Salt Lake, declaring how the contest is paving the way for the future of science fiction and fantasy. And the Locus Award, acknowledging L. Ron Hubbard and the Writers of the Future for creating a lasting legacy in the fields of science fiction and fantasy. Amidst these accolades, there is one more award honoring L. Ron Hubbard and his enduring contest. To present this prestigious recognition, it is now my privilege to introduce the co-founder and president of DragonCon, Mr. Pat Henry.
Good evening, everyone. Much like L. Ron Hubbard, I'm a gardener. My garden is smaller. Every year I go to the feed store, check and see what the best seeds and plants I can find are. I nurture my plants to the best of my ability. I plant the food and I feed the neighborhood. Mr. Hubbard, his garden's a little larger. His is the entire planet. Every year, Writers and Artists of the Future program goes into the world looking for the brightest talent to bring here, to expose the most creative minds in the world, to encourage, to publish, and give them freely to the world. Did I mention all this is done on Mr. Hubbard's dime? And they've been doing it for 40 years. The Dragon Award, emblem of individuality, greatness, and excellence across the spectrum of science fiction and fantasy, is a tribute to those who elevate the genre. On the 40th anniversary of Writers and Illustrators of the Future, I proudly present this honorary Dragon Award to L. Ron Hubbard's Writers of the Future contest. Congratulations to the winners and to Writers of the Future.
Please welcome Writers of the Future Judge Larry Niven and Illustrators of the Future Judge Rob Pryor.
Good evening. James Davies, third place winner with his story, Ashes to Ashes, Blood to Carbon Fiber. James grew up in England and was first introduced to fantasy and science fiction when he ran into the sum of all men by the late David Farland in a bookstore in Kenya at the age of 10, which is about the right age. He now lives in Maryland with his wife and 14 daughters. Well, 4 feral humans and 10 well-behaved hens.
I get to be up here with Larry. Are you kidding? I want to say, all the illustrators before I begin it. You guys, absolutely amazing. I'm so proud of you. And you all did such a fantastic job. And Maliva and Joni, don't worry, I'm going to stay on track here. Mazing began to learn oil painting at the age of 12 and began her apprenticeship in the illustration and fine art at age 16. She has painted live streams for an international audience and tabled at multiple conventions and has been recognized as a finalist in the 16th Art Renewal Center Salon at age 19. Currently 20 years old, she is a full-time student in college studying cognitive science and Russian literature. Right? While further developing her art and portfolio and career. Please welcome them to the stage.
Okay, let's see what ChatGPT wrote for me. I would never. Firstly, thank you to Mr. L. Ron Hubbard. These contests have been and continue to be an incredible gift for generations of writers and illustrators. Thank you to Jody, Rob, and all of the judges for everything you do. I especially liked the bit where you picked my story. Thank you to Galaxy Press and Author Services and everyone that's a part of this amazing event for everything you do, particularly, well, you know what. May, thank you for your incredible illustration. It looks more like what I imagined than what I imagined. It doesn't make sense, but it's true. I have to thank my wonderful wife, Lizzie, for her endless, thank you. For her endless encouragement, reading and rereading the roughest of rough drafts and the roughest of final drafts, and for keeping our 4 beautiful daughters alive and happy while I squeeze writing into every minute I can. Honestly, you worked harder for this than I did. Speaking of my daughters, thank you, Emma, Aubrey, Summer, and London, for behaving just well enough that your mum didn't ban me from writing, and for inspiring me every day. Thank you to my parents, Jane, Joe, and Jonathan. I'm glad I'm more creative than you were with my name. Thank you to all of my many brothers and sisters and my wonderful friends, both here in this room and all across the globe. Last year, TJ Knight of Volume 39 stood right here and thanked me, so I feel I'm obliged to thank him back. I'm kidding. He looked in my writer's toolbox, gave me a long list of tools I was missing and sent me to the store, and I wouldn't be here without him. I also owe a great amount of thanks to all of my many writing groups, Mightier Than the Sword, the Wolf Pack, Superstars Tribe, the Nightclub, and the Writers of the Future Forum. You're all amazing. And finally, I'd like to thank the late, great David Farland. He introduced me to fantasy and made me fall in love with reading and consequently writing. His advice was the first to ever improve my craft, and he told me about this great contest. When I got my first honorable mention, he personally congratulated me, giving me the drive to keep writing and keep submitting. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Good evening. I guess I first need, obviously, to thank the contest. I need to thank the staff at Author Services and Galaxy Press for creating such a legacy over the last 40 years that I'm so humbled and honored to be able to step into. And so much thanks for creating and facilitating such a wonderful week for me and for all of us here. Next, I need to thank my mother. She's not here, but she's all the way on the East Coast. I really hope she's not watching this because it's really late and she should be resting. But I'm the first creative in my family, and she's a financial analyst, so her whole job is looking for risk and calculating things. And as a creative growing up, I was always making it very hard for her to do that with me. So I just want to thank her so much for supporting me at every step of my artistic journey and also just my journey as a person, from letting me, draw on printer paper and leave it all over the floor until staying up until 2 in my room, pretending to sleep. So thank you, Mom. Thank you for being someone I can look up to. I love you. I also would like to thank my friends, some of who are not here today, but most importantly, the ones that I've made over the last week. I really wasn't expecting to meet such a great group of people. I'm so lucky. You guys have all been so much more than kind to me, and you're all incredible artists, and I cannot wait to see where the future takes you guys. So shout out to you guys. Thank you so much. Yeah. I also want to thank the friends from my hometown. I hope they're not watching this either. But I've been sending them stuff at like 3 a.m. and sometimes they respond and sometimes they don't. But it's always really amazing to have people who will cheer you on and support you and also give you really harsh feedback for whatever you do. So thank you to them. And lastly, I really need to thank my mentor, Kevin Murphy. He's out there somewhere I can't see. But thank you so much for accompanying me this past week, for letting me drag you from your nice home in Central Jersey. And also for being my mentor for the last 4 years. It really means the world to me that you have taken so much time and energy out of your excessively busy life to teach me. Thank you for teaching me the value of hard work and introspection and my ability to turn that into confidence and the ability to really do whatever I put my mind to and make my dreams a reality, whether that's translating an idea into a painting or pursuing a career. So thank you so much for working with me. Thank you so much for being here, and thanks again to all of you here.
Please welcome Illustrators of the Future Judge Dean Wesley Smith and actress Michelle Stafford.
So gallant.
Well, thank you. Lisa Silverthorne is the third place winner with her story, Summer of 30 Years. She lives in Las Vegas with her 3 cats, which she calls her furry feline dictators. Yeah, they're cats. Lisa first entered the Writers of the Future contest in 1994, then took a short break, 29 years, and then entered again and won.
Gigi Hooper from Newburgh, Oregon, specializes in digital collage and pencil work and now has a BA in illustration from George Fox University. Gigi also had a career serving in the U.S. Marine Corps and as a personal trainer. But her heart lies in the arts and in the comic book industry. Let's congratulate them both.
Well, I think you'll find I'm a better writer than a public speaker. As Dean said, I entered this contest. I made my first submission in 1994, and I never dreamed that 30 years later, I would be standing on this stage as a winner. It's a dream 30 years in the making. Thank you. So I am honored and humbled to be standing on this stage and accept this award. I'd like to thank, sorry, I'm out of breath. I'd like to thank L. Ron Hubbard for the legacy and the magic of this contest that has fueled writers' dreams like mine for 40 years. I'd like to thank the Writers of the Future judges, the Author Services crew, and Galaxy Press. You guys have been absolutely amazing, and I felt like a queen all week. And you guys are amazing people, and you're the keepers of dreams, so thank you. And I want to thank this amazing, incredible artist, Gigi Hooper, who just blew my mind when I saw the artwork for my story. She just perfectly captured every moment of my story, and I couldn't believe that she was able to do that in one illustration. But it was just amazing. So, Gigi, thank you. I would like to thank friend and writer Ron Collins for putting up with me and my writing for nearly 30 years. I'd like to thank my friend and writer friend, I said that twice, didn't I? Patricia Duffy Novak, for her unfailing support and wisdom. You were always there for me, and it was through the best and the worst of times, and you did that for over almost 30 years. I would also like to thank Christine Catherine Rush and Dean Leslie Smith. Dean, you and Chris are legends. I wouldn't be standing here on this stage without your continued support and your years of impactful teaching. I'm a working writer because of your teaching, so thank you. I'd like to thank my jerk brother, who might be watching this right now, Jeff, who has endured millions of medical questions from me. I'd like to thank my sister-in-law, keyword being sister, Tanya, my nephew, John, and my niece, Kirsten. You've always supported me in my writing, so I love you guys. Thank you. And finally, and this is the one I'm going to stumble on, I want to thank my biggest fan, my first reader, and my best friend, who happened to be my mother. She's not with me anymore, but she would be just over the moon to see me standing here on this stage tonight. She taught me to read and write. She taught me to love stories and books and to never, ever quit on my dream of being a writer and to keep reaching for the stars. So, Mom, this award is for you. Thank you.
So I want to hide behind my bangs. I'm a little nervous. First and foremost, the story was easy to illustrate because it was a wonderful story. Very beautiful story. Read it. Wow. Illustrators of the future, writers and illustrators of the future. What a wonderful experience. You guys are so amazing. Never in a million years would I think I would be on stage with some horns behind me with a husband and a whole table of family just, supporting me. What a wonderful time to make a really nice group of friends. I feel so encouraged by everyone's talent and just their focus and their positive energy and attitude towards each other. I think in this industry, you have to be with good people, and I'm so glad that I'll get to share the industry with them. I submitted to Illustrators of the Future 3 times. I thought it was a scholarship. So, you gotta pay school bills, but I submitted. I got 2 honorable mentions, which was great. And my last semester in college, I thought, one more time, I was working on an exhibition for my senior thesis. I'm trying to finish my children's book, and I submitted those 3 pieces, and I won the 3rd quarter. And it was so awesome to hear all my hard work. All that to say, I want to thank for being a Marine, I could be a crybaby. As a child, I was always a destructive creative. My mom has witnessed a lot of destruction of her decorative towels with crayon shavings as glitter. My dad for letting me draw on the walls in my bedroom with crayons. I know it was expensive. I'm so grateful for parents who have been supportive. Many of times I hear of creatives where they speak of not having that support from their parents. And I would say, even when I destroyed things, my parents gave me the supplies. So thank you, Mom and Dad. Gracias por tu paciencia y tu fe. Thank you for your patience and your faith in me. To my sister, wonderful person. She's my personal assistant. She's not for hire though, she's mine. Thank you for just being an ear for me. Thank you for finding my brain when I couldn't find it, and just talking me down when I have really crazy ideas. So I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful for my parents for giving me the supplies that I needed, which were mostly traditional. But I'm thankful for my mother-in-law for providing me with more advanced tools that have been so valuable in my digital illustration. To my beautiful husband, my best friend, I love you, and I thank you for just being a support and just an honorable person. If you haven't met him, I'm pretty sure most of you have, but if not, you will. I love you, and I'm so happy that we're together. Who would have thought? Yeah. So, thank you, everyone, and I wish you all luck. I'll see you later.
Please welcome Writers of the Future Judge Catherine Kurtz and Writers of the Future First Reader Carrie English.
my knee and I thank you. Cal M is a second place winner with her story, Butter Side Down. She writes from the crowded outskirts of Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, where she grew up and spent most of her time reading instead of playing outside. Winning Writers of the Future has connected her with other like-minded individuals.
Selena Meraki was born and raised in the Netherlands, and this is her first time in America. Selena did not have a typical, quote, always new story to creating art. She was on a very different path until a traumatic brain injury led to her discovery of art. Please welcome them both to the stage.
My family couldn't be here, but I am going to thank them anyway. Just like I'm thanking all of you. I am thanking you because being a writer can be lonely, especially when you're from a small country where the publishing industry is still young and fragile. Especially when the authors who helped to build you are nothing like you. Typically, storybook heroes don't look like me. They don't talk like me. Adventures don't happen in my half of the world. They happen in faraway places that, to me, might as well not be real. Now I find myself in one of those places, and I was afraid that I would have to justify my existence because I still feel like I don't quite fit in. Instead, I was told that I don't have to fit in. I was told that me being different is a good thing, an interesting thing, something that makes me maybe worth listening to sometimes, which is such a simple thing. But no one's ever told me that before. No one has sat me down and made me understand that I deserve to be here just as much as anyone else, not in spite of the way that I am, but because of it. I am beginning to understand that just because I'm not from here doesn't mean that I can't belong here if that's what I want. So I want to thank this contest and all of you for that. I hope that someday some kid in my hometown is going to pick up a book and see that the name on the cover sounds a bit like theirs. And I hope that kid does not think twice. The idea that that name might be mine, that's daunting. But now that I'm here, I have to ask myself, what was I ever afraid of? I mean, the fear will come back, especially once I'm home and again worried that I'm never going to make it past my own front door. But when that happens, I think I can look at this and I will remember being here.
Wow, how does one follow a speech like that? This is exactly what a writer should be doing our speeches next year. But good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for all being here to support us this night. This week has been a whirlwind of an experience, and I want to thank everyone who contributed to making this contest this week and tonight's event possible. So everyone from Galaxy Press, thank you so much, and all the volunteers for the tireless efforts that they put in. And a special dankjewel to Ria for making me feel a little bit more at home this week. I especially want to thank all of the judges without whom we wouldn't even be here, but also for all of the invaluable information that they gave to us. It's something that I will take with me forever, and feeling so validated for all the tips that I got, and knowing that, you know, I can make my dreams come true was wonderful. However, the highlight of my year was getting to illustrate the book cover for Butter Side Down. Kel, thank you so much for writing this wonderful story. I had such a good time reading this. And when you guys go and get the book, skip to the end, read Butter Side Down, and I'm sure it will put a smile on your face. But there's one person who I owe my deepest gratitude to, and that is my mom. You have been my support pillar who, through the chaos of life, through sickness and health, not once doubted me. You are the MVP, and I love you so much, more than words can express. And with such a monumental moment as this, I guess it's all downhill from here. Thank you so much.
To introduce the Writers and Illustrators of the Future Golden Pen and Golden Brush Awards for Volume 40, please welcome Contest Director, Ms. Joni Labaki.
As we stand at the threshold of the 40th and 35th anniversaries, I find myself reflecting on the odyssey these contests have embarked upon, an epic adventure that, much like the ancient tales, has transformed dreams into tangible realities for countless aspiring writers and artists. Leading such a visionary undertaking, I am privileged to guide and uplift the spirits of those who dare to dream, in line with Mr. Hubbard's original purpose for the program. The pure thrill of announcing to 24 exceptional artists each year that their hard work has paid off is unmatched. Tonight, we have witnessed the pinnacle of their journey thus far. Yet the journey doesn't end there. From these distinguished winners, our judges have the daunting task of selecting the recipients of our highest accolades, the Golden Brush Award for the Grand Prize Illustrator and the Golden Pen Award for the Grand Prize Writer. Beyond the trophy, their publication in the anthology, and the master workshops lies a bonus prize of $5,000 for our Grand Prize winners. To unveil the Grand Prize Illustrator winner, please welcome the Illustrators of the Future Coordinating Judge, Echo Chernick, and founding Illustrators of the Future Judge, Bob Eggleton.
The most exciting moment of the year is right now, where we celebrate not just a winner, but the embodiment of artistic excellence with the Golden Brush Award. This year, like every year, we've been awed by the sheer talent and creativity displayed by all of the artists, making the selection process incredibly challenging yet rewarding. Working with each of you has been an immense pleasure, and I am confident in the bright futures awaiting you all. But tonight we spotlight one artist whose illustration earned them the night's most coveted honor.
Joni mentioned earlier that this was a very tight race and several of the awardees could have been the grand prize winner. Now, let me open the envelope. As Sean Connery said, there can be only one.
I managed not to lose the envelope. This is
No,
good.
we got it.
Come on, hurry up.
And it is Tyler Vale.
Tyler Vale.
Wow. I'm going to say what every winner does. And if anyone was betting, I did not expect to win. I unfortunately did not prepare anything, but everyone else was so great. I want to first start with thanking all of you and everyone watching at home. This would not be possible without you, and just all the eyes and love I've gotten here this past week has been so great. I want to again thank my wife, Liberty, who always brings me up and is just so amazing. I want to thank all the judges. Again, they put in so much time and work, and this past week has been so amazing with all the portfolio reviews and just having people around me that share the same passion as much as I do. And I'm going to go home today and think, how can I pay it forward as much as they have? Thank you.
To present the Writers of the Future Volume 40 Golden Pen Award, please welcome the Writers of the Future Coordinating Judge, as well as Senior Editor for the anthology, Jody Lynn Nye, and Writers of the Future Judge, Orson Scott Card.
This marks my third year stepping into the role of coordinating judge for the Writers of the Future contest, and what a journey it has been. Each year, I'm delighted by the depth and diversity of talent that emerges from this contest. This year, having selected the stories that advance to my fellow judges, I've been privileged to share the range of imagination that defines the future of speculative fiction. Echoing the sentiments of L. Ron Hubbard's vision, it's not just about discovering talent. It's about fostering a community where writers can thrive, pushing the boundaries of our culture through their visionary tales. This volume represents the pinnacle of that endeavor, showcasing promising writers and artists who are poised to redefine our genre. I wrote in the introduction that the stories are like a library between two covers. I really mean that. Where else can you find this much diversity, freshness, and originality in one single book? As we celebrate the 40th anniversary of this contest, it's clear that the stories within this anthology not only honor the legacy of those who have come before, but also blaze a trail for the future. Within this, the wonderful class of Volume 40, one writer has been singled out by our esteemed panel of judges for their exceptional storytelling prowess. It is with immense pride and anticipation that I am here to announce the recipient of the Volume 40 Golden Pen Award.
I'm going to set that down. Before I open this envelope, I heard that a tiebreaker was needed for the Writer Grand Prize winner. It was that close. And now the moment we've all been waiting for, the Volume 40 Writers of the Future winner of the Golden Pen Award and Grand Prize check for $5,000 that goes to the writer of the story,
Sun Spirit Snake.
Oh my goodness. I can't wait to tell my 5 Twitter followers about this. In all seriousness, ladies and gentlemen, this week has just been, I could not have dreamed a better week. I was introduced on the stage by the first time by the amazing Nnedi Okorafor, one of my favorite currently working science fiction authors. I was just introduced by Orson Scott Card, a living legend, also a fellow Utahn. It is so great to see so many from my home state who are just crushing it in science fiction and fantasy. I'm not including myself in that, by the way. There are so many people to thank, everyone in Author Services, all the judges, all the winners. You all deserve to be up here with me. Your stories are incredible. It is a travesty that there are not, a million other trophies and we can all just come up here again. But I think what I could say that is most important is just the story of my story. It's brief, I promise, but I think it's important for all other aspiring authors to hear. I signed up for an online workshop for science fiction and fantasy. I paid $500 or something. A week before the workshop was about to begin, they emailed and said, you were the only one that signed up. We can either refund your money or we can offer you a one-on-one tutoring with the instructor. I thought, well, I don't know what I'm doing. I would love the tutoring. That was Damien Johansson. He offered me to just let me work on whatever I want. I had kind of a story idea. I said, well, would you help me develop this? He said, sure. Over the course of several months, I would write something. He would say, your characters suck, do it again. I'd write a few more sections. He'd say, your dialogue is terrible, do it again. To the point where I thought, this story is too weird. It's getting too long. No one's ever going to read it. I'm just going to run with it. And I just wrote a story that I wanted to tell. It had absolutely no market planned. When I finished it, I thought, well, this is weird. I'm just going to file it away in a drawer. But I had made the goal to submit to Writers of the Future every quarter. The first quarter I submitted, I got semifinalists, which felt really nice. Then I got honorable mention, which didn't feel as good. So when Joni called and told me that the story that I had written and just completely dismissed in my mind had won first place, it really made me look back and reevaluate what I was doing. And over the course of this workshop, I've really learned that what is important is that we write something that we love and that we write something that we enjoy. And that's what creates art, and art that is meaningful. Not to write to a market, not to write to an audience. Although that is important later, I think the first step is just to write because you love it. I also just want to stress again how important this contest is. I think it was something one of the previous winners said, that this is the fuel for science fiction and fantasy. That's really important. This contest isn't about finding people who are already good writers and giving them a trophy and going on. This gives us something to work for and gives us something to refine our craft for. And that is what is creating great authors and great illustrators. It is giving us a reason to try. And so for that, I thank L. Ron Hubbard. I thank the contest, the author services, all the judges. I thank all of you for being here. This contest is not a short story contest. This is a contest about creativity. So with that, from the bottom of my heart, thank you.
This concludes the 2024 L. Ron Hubbard Achievement Awards and our celebration of 4 decades of discovering and nurturing new talent. To all who have been part of this journey, writers, illustrators, judges, and dreamers, we salute you. To our new winners of this, the 40th year, congratulations. And as for the next 4 decades, Let us continue to light the way for a new generation of writers and artists, for in their tales and creation lies the future, not just of this contest, but of humanity itself. And with that, I leave you with these words from L. Ron Hubbard. There's only one way you will ever have a future. Make one. There's only one way you'll ever have one. Nobody could tell you about the future. Your future is into constant state of manufacture. Please join us now in the beautiful Taglian complex to further honor the winners as well as our esteemed judges. And do not miss your chance to ask our winners for their autographs as published professionals. From all of us at Author Services and Galaxy Press, thank you all for being with us tonight. See you next year at the 41st anniversary of the Writers of the Future contest. Enjoy the rest of the evening. Thank you.
With the Wells Fargo Active Cash Credit Card, earn unlimited 2% cash back on purchases you want, like dance lessons. Ow, ow, ow. And on what you need, like memory foam inserts. That's real life ready. Visit wellsfargo.com/activecash. Terms apply.
And here we go.
We have liftoff. Propulsion continues to be nominal.
RCPA chamber pressure looks good.
Doubling up.
Water towers fly! Echo down phenomenal.
Fighting outside of feed off. Bring in SPD off.
It's orange! Oh my god! Oh my god!
Liquidation.
Look at that!
Put that in the big bag.
343 unfolds to go.
And he.
We rise together, back to the moon and beyond.
This is methane to be igniting the flare, correct?
Yikes. You good? Sure. We don't need any more of these.
Welcome to another NSF live stream of testing activity in Starbase. SpaceX is wasting no time getting ready for Starship Flight 4. And to that end, you can see Ship 29 is sitting on Pad B, and there has been an overpressure notice delivered today. So the tank farm is spooling up. The recondenser is active, which means methane is being involved in today's test, which makes sense given the overpressure notice. And we're hoping that we get to see a static fire of some number of engines today. The road is closed. All the pieces are in place. And so with that, let's get right into it. I'm Jack Beyer for NSF. You can see my info in the top right there. But you don't have to just listen to me. As usual, I am joined by our ever-competent cohort of co-hosts. Starting off with Chris, I can't even call you a co-host. Starting off with Chris Bergen, the Bergenator, NASA Spaceflight Actual, the one, the only, the Bergen. What's up, Chris?
You're trying to make that stick, aren't you? The Bergenator. I kind of like it, actually. So
what do you mean?
I'm going to sound like I don't want it, but I'm going to keep saying, please say it. Keep saying it. But yeah, thank you. Welcome. Welcome to
What do you mean trying to make it stick? I see YouTube chat saying it. I see Discord saying it. It's stuck. It is fully stuck. You are the Bergenator.
I know. I'm just waiting for the one day I'm walking down the street and someone goes, Bergenator! And I'm going, oh my God, I've made it. That's it. I've made it in life. I'm middle-aged, but I've finally made it. But yeah, thank you. Ship 29. Anyway, moving on. IFT4. How exciting is this? It doesn't seem like that long ago. We're watching Starship launch for the third time, and now we're in proper preparations for IFT4. This is the first time we'll see fire come out the aft of a vehicle associated with IFT4, which is always very good news because there's been a lot of testing already. And they're technically already doing testing for IFT5, if you think about it. So there's lots going on. I'm rather excited. If this goes well, it might not be the only static fire test. I would probably just be careful there. But this probably may be a good sign that we're going to start moving on to booster testing before too long. I think the only thing holding back is the orbital launch mount. So I'm excited. That was long-winded. Sorry, Jack.
No, you're good. Yeah, we have a lot to talk about in the lead up to today's to this particular test. Like you said, there's been a bunch of testing already going on, not just for Flight 4 vehicles, but Flight 5 vehicles as well. Although no engine testing yet on Flight 5 vehicles, other than just some cryogenic proofs. But I digress. We are also joined by Alex. Alex, how are you doing, bud? And I apologize for the dog squeaky toy sounds in the background, but yeah, dog hyper.
Oh, who's a good little girl? But yeah, boy, Flight 4, right? Let's go back to Starship, I guess. It's quite interesting that this ship actually already completed a spin prime, so we're here for the static fire test because we have an overpressure notice.
Indeed. So hopefully we get to see them fire up, but somewhere between 1 and 6 engines today. And hopefully, because there was a tweet, was there not, by SpaceX saying static fires, as in there will be multiple static fires of Ship 29 potentially?
Well,
Alex, I'm looking at you.
It is true that Ship 28 did too. The second of one was to test that in-space burn thingy that they did, right? That was one of the objectives. for the flight. But then again, you might think that it is good to not only try it again on flight 4, but even if they didn't try it, right? It is always good to do that because you kind of have to test the orbit capabilities of your ship, if you think about it. Like even on a normal mission, when you're trying to do acceptance testing of the vehicle, kind of makes sense, right? To maybe try that out and see if the vehicle can actually go through that.
Indeed. So who knows what we'll see with ship 29 today? Maybe just one static fire, probably just one static fire. But yeah, either way, we've got the tank farm active, and we will do our usual thing and answer your questions. So if you have any questions, type at NASA Spaceflight in chat, and we'll see your question pop up in some software we have running in the background. But yeah, I don't know. This has been a rapid turnaround in between a flight and the next set of vehicles being tested. Dare I say, I think this is the fastest that SpaceX has done this yet. So, I mean, just right off the bat, how does this make you guys feel in terms of when we could see Flight 4 happen? Chris, I'll let you go first.
I'm still hopeful for May. We heard Gwen Shotwell, who is not Elon with the exaggerated timeline, say 6 weeks, around 6 weeks. Then Elon was the one to temper that, saying if all goes well. I think May is very possible. I also think it's kind of required that SpaceX need to pick up the cadence now. They have to prove not only that their is improving, because we've seen the progression from IFT 1 to 2 to 3, the way they've achieved new goals, new milestones. There's a lot of things that are going right every time they fly, and that is very much the SpaceX way, to find the faults during flight, during real flight conditions, and then improve on them. But now they also need to show they can turn around these vehicles. The selling point of Starship is not only its capability or full reusability, it's the rapid part of it, the rapidly reusable vehicle. And to be rapidly reusable, needs to get the flight cadence up, and then they need to start bringing them back, as Gwen Shotwell said, bringing them back potentially this year, which was crazy, which is actually in the SBU, the Starbase update, which you did, Jack, and is pinned in the top of chat. I'm going to pin it in top of this chat because I pinned in top of SBL, and I'll pin it in top of this chat now as well. But yeah, I'm very excited about the way they're progressing now. I think if we can get 5 or 6 flights this year, that will be fantastic. I know SpaceX would like to do a few more, but let's just say they have that amount of flights and they achieve pretty much all the goals they're trying to achieve this year with those flights. I think that is a wonderful achievement. That's where I want to go with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Alex?
Well, it definitely looks like we may be in a path to see both vehicles tested well within April. And that is not to be surprised, given that for Flight 3, for example, Booster 10 and Chip 28 were both tested before December. Basically, December 29th was the last test that they did in terms of, static fire test. That's when Chip 28 did its single static fire test, and Booster 10 did its 33 engine static fire test. So definitely, it could be done rather quickly, right? My thinking here that I'm having is like, what is going to be the time that it takes for them to implement all the changes from Flight 3, right? There seem to be problems with the attitude control of both vehicles, more especially to the ship than the booster. The booster seemed to be more about, aerodynamics, perhaps, or we really don't know, right? But it seemed to have happened very deep into the atmosphere, whereas the ship, it was more like mostly all the time as it was in that coast phase up in space. So whatever they do, I don't really know what's going to be the scope for that, but it could end up being from, anything from control software algorithms being changed to vents being changed on the tanks, which will probably mean more of a significant change on the vehicle. So anywhere in between that, right? I don't really know how long is that going to take. Could it be May? Sure. Could it be June? I think that's more likely. So I'm in camp June. in that sense. But it will still be one month earlier than the time from flight 2 to flight 3. It will still be faster. So it shows that sort of rapid turnaround. Obviously, it's not at the pace of Falcon 9 or even to the goal of multiple times a day that they have in the future for Starship. But it's certainly becoming more frequent, and I think there's a good chance in a couple of years we're going to get very, very close to at least the Falcon 9 cadence of like a couple of years ago from Falcon 9, where it was like one launch every week or even faster than that. That could be a thing in a short order.
Right. I'm thankful for the Starship program and the Falcon 9 program both existing at the same time, because we can take a lot of what we've seen with the Falcon 9 program and sort of extrapolate what we should expect to see, or at the very least can hope to see, with Starship. So pretty nifty that SpaceX is able to fire on all cylinders like this.
Yeah. It's always a progression, right? Like people expect things to be done very quickly, and they're done very quickly for a vehicle of this size. This is quick, but it's still a progression. It's going to get shorter and shorter and shorter. That's sort of the idea. But it's not going to get 1 day turnaround time, night and day kind of change, right? That's not going to happen.
Yeah, that will take time for SpaceX to sort out. I mean, even the orbital launch mount as it exists right now on the orbital launch pad, like if a launch goes perfectly and everything works out, I don't know that it could support the rapid cadence that SpaceX is actually ultimately trying for. I mean, it's very much a version 1 of the mount, right?
Yeah.
Like, even if they catch a booster tomorrow somehow, they remove the guide pins from the orbital launch mount before launch and then reinstall them after. So would they even be able to set it down on the orbital launch mount, or would they just catch the booster and then let it hang there while crews rushed out and installed the pins? Or would they try and set it down without those pins? I don't know. It's a whole bunch of questions I'm asking here, but the point is that even if everything with the vehicles is worked out and catching is solved tomorrow, there are still hardware modifications that need to be made on the ground side to likely enable such operations.
And I mean, we're kind of seeing that perhaps at 39A, right, where they're tearing down those legs. We don't really know what's going to happen with that, but it's certain that at least some kind of change is coming. And I think that's probably one thing to keep an eye on, that whatever change they do there, that might be the same kind of change that we'll see on the second tower and second launch pad here at Starbase. So all eyes at 39A, because that's sort of the next one to have changes, I guess. Jack, you're muted, by the way.
Jack is still muted. I will take over while Jack is muted. There he's back.
Thank you. Talking while muted. Go ahead, Chris.
No, I was not going ahead at all. I was just covering the dead air while you were on muting. I will say something though. The interesting thing about 39A is you think that, and this is natural, that Starbase will be providing the proving grounds. It was always going to be that, because even when Elon was intimating that Starbase was only going to be used for development launches, that was pretty much how it was built. Now it's progressed into more of a primary site, not necessarily the primary site going forward with HLS and etc., but it's going to get a second tower. It's going to be launched a lot more than just the development launches. So it's going to be an interesting place where they've proven their systems to the point that you may think, well, what's the second tower's orbital launch mount going to be if they're changing things at 39A? And maybe it's just KSC. They have different regulations there. Maybe they're finding that they need to do a different design for the launch pad at 39A relevant to KSC. And that would make sense as well. It also play into what they may do with future sites, because they may get another site in Florida, as they've been looking at. There's the Slick 50 option. There's the option of going to the former ULA pad. Well, I'll say former, not just yet. It will be format after the Delta 4 launches this week, but then they're going to looking at potentially taking over 37B, and also the potential, Jack. I like bringing this up. The potential of taking Slick 6 for Starship. SpaceX has taken Slick 6. They've not yet put a press release out, but the US Air Force did. So we know that for a fact. It's official. The potential of a West Coast Starship from Slick 6 is intriguing, to say the least. All these things are going to be playing in. They're going to go, how has the pad at Starbase, our first Starship pad, played out for us? Do we need to do the changes? Do we mirror it for Starbase? Do we do something different for KSC, which they look like they're doing? Or will we do something different for Slick 6? It's intriguing that it may not be mirror towers and pads at all their sites going forward.
Yeah, I mean, Chris, saying that Slick 6 is an option for Starship eventually, hopefully, is just, intriguing is an understatement.
I'll tell you this, Jack. I did ask. I asked everyone I know related to Vandenberg, and I got one reply back saying it's potential. And that was enough for me. I was like, I'll take that. I'll take that. Thank you very much. I'm sure SpaceX is probably still planning out themselves. They do have, as the US Air Force release said, for Falcon 9, Falcon Heavy. But let's face it, they've got 4 East, is it, already, which was going to be for a Falcon Heavy as well, wasn't it? It was originally designed for both Falcon 9 and Falcon Heavy. So there's every chance that such a big facility at Slick 6, which is massive, could be for Starship as well. So that's why I'm getting excited about that one.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely even just a second Falcon 9 pad at Vandenberg would be amazing. So you know what? I'll take it. And either way, SpaceX will factor in the things that they're learning from both Falcon 9 ops and Starship ops in Boca to increase their cadence. So yay! I do really hope we see Starship at Slick 6 someday, whether or not it's in the immediate future or not. But either way, how about we do some questions?
Yes. Would you like me to ask them?
Zoran. Oh, I'm looking at the question. You're impatient today, Chris. Have you had your coffee?
I can't help it. No, yeah, tea. Excuse me. Yorkshire is tea.
Sorry, tea.
That's the law.
Do you do milky tea, or are you a black tea kind of person?
Yeah. Well, hang on a minute. Tea is with milk, and it's against the law to not have milk in your tea. Basically, you put a tea bag into the cup, you then put boiling water into the cup, you stir the tea bag, then you put the milk and potentially sweeteners in, and that's your cup of tea. None of this black and cold and iced tea business. Thank you very much.
You know what? Agree to disagree, although I do enjoy me some milky tea. And I swear I was not trying to rhyme, but there you go. Either way, Starship, right? I love when I can get you to derail. Zoran Dekic is asking, would expendable Starship make any financial sense for private launches? I think so, yeah. I mean, especially if you have a payload that demands Starship's full performance. I mean, I guess there's always refilling and then reusing the ship, but at the same time, Starship itself could be a pretty nifty bus for a wide range of payloads. I mean, I'm immediately thinking of like a massive telescope of some kind. Like, just send the whole Starship, fill it up, and expend it in that way. Something like that would be really cool.
It's also interesting
Alex,
to
do you have
note
any
as
thoughts?
well. Yes, I have thoughts, many thoughts. But it is also interesting to note here as well that if you think about it, Falcon 9 expendable is also economically viable in the sense that it's a rather cheap vehicle because you have common propellant across both stages. Your upper stage engine is basically a derivative of the first stage engine. Like, you have a lot of commonalities. The tankage, for example, is very similar. So obviously Starship, if you think about it, it's in that same sense, right? Those properties of being simple, of basically not just design but also build, and at the end of the day, like, a Starship is a bunch of rings put together, and the Super Heavy is similarly the same. The complicated thing of Super Heavy is the engine section, but apart from that, The rest is just tanks, and you can just not put the whole thing for recovery. Like maybe don't put some of the chines because they have all of these COPVs for reentry and things like that. So it's a rather much more simpler rocket than when you look at other types of rockets where they have highly optimized upper stage, or it uses a different fuel than the first stage, and it uses a different engine, and like you start getting into the point of like developing two different things, having to have a pad that has to support two different things, more complicated GSC, right? So like in that sense, Starship is a lot simpler than probably a similarly sized vehicle that is more traditional, so to speak. If you were to build essentially a giant 120-meter tall vehicle and 9 meters in diameter, it will probably be in old style kind of thing. Like the upper stage will be hydrologs, the first stage will be some kind of kerosene based vehicle or something like that. It will be much more expensive in that sense because it will be much more optimized. But then again, in this sense, it's much more easier to build and much more easier to design and operate and everything.
Right.
Because you have lots of commonalities and simplicity.
Keep it simple, stupid. Oh my gosh, we have a poll in chat about tea. You know what? I voted milk.
There's an option missing here, which is I don't drink tea. By the way, the ship is now getting frosty.
Oh.
It's getting its own load, but that's not tea. That's liquid oxygen.
Oh, yeah, you can see the frost line developing there on. Go ahead.
I gotta write down this time because it's usually 72 minutes
Yeah.
from frost appearing to test.
It's odd that it's such a long period of time for the static fire tests on a ship when actually loading the entire full stack for launch is what, like 45, 50 minutes?
Yeah. Much smaller tank farm. They don't have the benefit of having that big tank farm in the back.
Oh, yeah, I didn't think of that, but you're right. Two different tank farms, and the suborbital side does not have anywhere near the same upgrades or capabilities as the suborbital side. Neat. Princess Leia becoming a pad rat member. Thank you, Princess Leia. And there you can see the frost beginning to grow on the LOX tank. Exactly what we want to see today. And we'll keep an eye as that frost ring rises. It's anyone's guess as to how much they will load today. It could be a standard static fire type load where they only load the bare minimum, or it could be something else. Who knows? Eric, thank you for the support. They say listening to y'all as a podcast today. We appreciate you. Revhead gifting a Red Team membership. We appreciate you as well. Matthew Dahl is saying, can we start calling Jack Star Guy? My girlfriend overheard me listening to Starbase Update this morning and said, oh, it's Star Guy again. I think it should stick. You know what? I'm not opposed to it. Better than the field. Blushy Boy, thanks for gifting a Red Team membership. D.A. Swanson also gifting a Red Team membership. If you get gifted a membership, be sure you thank the person that gifted it. And if you know what, if you can't support us monetarily, don't worry about it, because that's what everyone else is doing, and supporting the channel so that our feeds can go out live around the world free of charge, and y'all are the best for it. So don't fret if you can't contribute monetarily. Just like hit the like button, tell your friends about us, watch the video. We appreciate you just the same. Astro95 Media is saying, Flight 3 was incredible. Great to meet the NSF team. Hope to be back for Flight 4. Side note, Burgonator is what you get when you put me and Chris together. Okay. Jason Boyles, thank you for the support. They say, where are Ship 29's Starlink antennas? They seem to be in different positions versus 28.
They're not installed just yet. They're not on the vehicle. Right now.
So yet another thing that needs to happen before Flight 4 is 29 needs to get its Starlink antennas. Alex, do you think...
I have a fun fact. Ship 28 also didn't have all of its Starlink antennas when it static fired. It only had 3 of them instead of all 4.
So it's almost guaranteed that after this test or tests, whatever they end up doing with 29 here at the launch site, it will be rolled back to the production site. But do not fret, that will be for the final additions needed for launch.
And also probably for, getting all of the changes that they have identified from Flight 3. If you think about it, this is a smart because they get to test the engines while they're still looking at the data from Flight 3, right? And then if they need any more testing afterwards, okay, sure, but that's going to be already with all of the investigation done and all of these testing done already. That's why we're expecting them to also roll Booster 11 shortly, like in the next few weeks, and do the static fire there. Because I see a lot of people, properly concerned, like it's obviously, oh, you really need to change the vehicles, right? Because they failed on the last flight. They had those issues and whatever, right? They had issues essentially, and you need to change that. But it also doesn't make sense to just wait around not doing anything until all of the data reviews are complete, because otherwise that's wasted time. If you think about it, testing the engines is just put it in there, test the engines, and if you need to do any more testing later, okay, but at least like you got a lot of things already tested, so it makes sense.
Yeah, all in service of increasing the cadence of launches this year. I don't think SpaceX is going to hit 6 or 9, but if they get 2 or 3 or 4 more in before the end of the year, I think that's a huge, huge success. Chip Franklin, thanks for gifting a Red Team membership. Mr. One Wolf, also gifting 5 Red Team memberships. Y'all are coming out with a load of support today, so thank you for that. RC Horseman, speaking of a load of support. Wow, I'm surprised nobody pinged me about this in the back channel. RC Horseman coming through with a $250 tip. Thank you so much, RC. They say, been absent a while due to medical issues, but want to support NSF. Thanks so much for all you do. Well, buddy, thank you for all of your insane and continued support throughout the years. We hope you are feeling better and you have your medical issues behind you. From the entire NSF team, seriously, thank you for all your support, and we hope you're doing better, buddy. Why can't I show it on screen, though? Show it on screen. There we go. It's working. Excellent. Apocalypse Cow gifting 5 Red Team memberships. RC Horseman also gifting 5 Red Team memberships. RC Horseman, you're just the best. Thank you. Ninja Decimator, pew pew pew, gifting 5 Red Team memberships. You have to say their name like that, otherwise you get in trouble. Let's see. Josh T becoming a Padrat member, and Coco Cats gifting a Red Team membership. You guys are amazing. Thank you. All right, questions.
I've got a
Matrix
question.
is asking, do we think we'll try... Oh, what's the question, Chris? Go.
A lot of people are asking in chat, and I think it's probably good that now we're into prop load. Alex, what do you reckon this means as timelines? People can plan their days accordingly. The potential earliest time they can fire up the engines.
Yeah. So
Good call,
based
Chris.
on the previous test, if it follows the same sort of times, right? I'll talk about the other part later, but essentially 1:10 p.m. Central, that will be if it follows the same sort of patterns. And the way to know if it follows the same patterns will be once the engine chill pipes come up. That is usually, I have to look it up, but that will be another indicator. So if it happens at the time expected, then that will be an indicator for eventually the test happening at 1:10 p.m. But yeah, I have to look it up. I have to dig up that data. I'll do that while you two talk.
Dig up the data as the frost line on ship 29 rapidly rising here. So yes, Chris, Matrix is asking, do we think they'll try and catch any of the version 1 starships, or will they wait until they have version 2 flying?
I don't know if it's about the version that denotes when they'll attempt it. I think what they definitely need first of all is for the boost to come down for a pinpoint landing. Like we saw with the Falcon boosters in the early days, they went for soft splashdowns. And it wasn't just the velocity they were trying to get right, but also the accuracy. So that's something where they'll learn their trade in bringing the big boosters back down, which they've still got lessons to learn, as we saw with booster 10's return. Once they get the soft splashdown and they've got a pinpoint, they'll have the confidence in their capability to bring it back to the launch site without risking flying into the tower, which would not be good. and then they can try and attempt to get a catch there. Now, then they go for Starship. I think Starship will be second in the attempts to catch them. I don't know if we'll naturally be on to the next version of Starship by then. I don't think that is dependent on the version. I think they need to get it right first with these upcoming missions where they get the confidence to go for the catch attempts, and then it'll basically be the next vehicle along.
Yeah, that makes sense. To me, it does kind of make sense if they end up having to go for version 2 of Starship. It's actually one of the things we talked about in SBU this week, in the video that we released this morning, in that the way the chopsticks attach to the ship currently, they need to sort of have time in order to connect to the ship. And so any kind of catch mechanism on the ship is going to need to look different than the current chopstick attachment points. So some sort of fold out pins, like the same sort of pins we see on the booster, but on the ship instead, so they can stow for reentry and fold out for landing, I think would be necessary. Now, does that require a full new version of ship, or can they do a modification on a version 1 ship? I don't know, but if you told me they're not going to catch until version 2 of the ship, I would believe you. At the same time, if you told me they are going to try and catch a version 1 ship, I would also believe that. You know, SpaceX is not wasting any time here in Starbase. Good question from Matrix. Ross is asking, have we spotted any visual differences between Ship 28 and Ship 29 yet to potentially address roll control during Flight 3? I have not. I could be wrong. That's more of an Alex question, and Alex is digging through data, but I suspect the answer from him would be not anything major yet, as SpaceX is still reviewing their data.
Exactly. Yeah.
Thank you,
Ship 29 is essentially there are subtle differences, obviously, like any vehicle, but it's more or less about the same as Ship 28. And it's been what, like 11 days since the launch, right? So that's not enough time to really do much. And this vehicle has been there for like 3 days already. So it's been less than that in terms of the time that they could have done any sort of change to the vehicle. And yeah, they're gonna do this testing first, and then they'll modify the vehicle with whatever measures they think it needs to be. By the way, I found the sort of indicator time. I don't know what to say, but it will essentially be like 30 minutes before the test. That's when the engine chill pipes start getting active.
Good and frosty.
So if we're looking at 1:10 p.m., essentially 1 hour from now, then half an hour from now should be when those engine chill pipes should be starting to get frosty too.
Excellent. All right, well, we'll keep our eye on the base of the vehicle for those engine chill pipes, especially as we get closer and closer to our suspected guessed, non-official, but based on data and not just complete and utter speculation time.
Yeah.
Robert Vansel, thank you for the support. They say, what is... they're describing how to make tea.
It's all right. I've already explained.
I don't think I don't think the Burgonator approves because they're involving sugar and coldness, I think. So, John Depker, thank you for the 5 Red Team memberships. The Nerdy One also gifting 5 Red Team memberships. Ryan also gifting 5 Red Team memberships. You guys are the best today. Thank you for that. A lot of things we want to do and improve, as usual, in between Starship flights. So the support really means the world. Lost in Space, thank you for the support. They say, Arthur Dent would concur about tea. Indeed. I think Alex gets the reference, but we don't have Adrian on right now, so we don't have to shame Adrian, or rather be happy that we get to show Adrian a delightful thing. But Chris, I know you get it.
Yeah, don't forget your towel.
Have you ever had the urge? Oh, we got some venting from the ship there, from the LOX tank, looks like.
Yep, it's been venting for a little while. That's normal because they still, they're loading the liquid oxygen to the tank, so it regularly vents. Ships do that when they're happy.
Chris, have you ever had the urge to go down? Yes, only when they're happy. Chris, have you ever had the urge to go down to your local pub in the middle of the day and consume many pints of beer because you think the world's ending?
Yeah, that's a good excuse, but no. The fun thing is, I have recited many Vogel poetry now, so I'm going to that. We could get on a rabbit hole with this film. No, we won't do it.
You would recite Vogon poetry. It's very on brand. Hop Hayes is asking, does 29 have the payload bay? Cheers from Indianapolis. Yes, it does have a payload bay. And it is not welded shut. And that said, again, from this morning's Starbase update, with some more venting from 29 there as it continues to be happy. I feel like I'm just spoiling Starbase update for everybody, but no, there's actually a lot of information in there. So don't hesitate to go watch that after this. Add it to your watch later playlist. But yes, 29 has a payload bay, and it will not be used to deploy satellites on Flight 4 per SpaceX CEO Gwen Shotwell. So yes, it has a payload bay. I suspect we'll see them test the door again on Flight 4, but do not expect Starlinks on Flight 4 per a statement from Gwen Shotwell. Simon S. is asking, have they ever used the header tanks on the orbital test flights? I mean, they load them with propellant just the same as the rest of the tanks. And I believe, Alex, correct me if I'm wrong, the propellant transfer test that was conducted on Flight 3 involved those header tanks, right? Or at least one of them.
Yeah, at the very least, one of them. We don't know, what else was transferred. The goal was 10 tons of liquid oxygen being transferred from the header tank down to the main tank. We don't really know the specifics, only that they conducted a test. So, but that's essentially what it was planned to be. Tolkien, well muted. Jack, go for the unmute button.
Sorry, I keep trying to aggressively mute because the dog is chewing on her squeaky toy. So I apologize for the constant muting, but I don't think anyone wants to hear squeak, squeak, squeak the whole test.
If it serves as feedback, I haven't heard the squeaky sounds for a while, so I think you're safe.
Okay, good. Calm of Autumn is asking, how many ships and boosters do they already have lined up for upcoming orbital flights? Well, 29 is going to be paired with 11. 11 is fully stacked and should have its engines by now. And as soon as the orbital launch mount is ready, it should be rolled back to the launch site rolled out to the launch site for that engine testing. So 29 and 11, there's one pair. Then there is 30 and 12. Alex, do we know anything about the status of 12? I think it's already done cryo at Massey's, right?
Boy, I'm trying to think about that because it's been a while. It's been a while since the last booster actually went out there because
I remember 12 had the cryo. Yeah, 12 had the cryo. I'm going to cheat and go on Ring Watchers. Give them a shout out because they have good tracking of what goes on here. So 12 is cryo. Booster 13's built. They're building Booster 14 sections. They got sections for 15, 16, and 17.
Yeah.
How bonkers is that?
It's insane. It's kabonk bonk, I would even say.
What I was actually gonna go through here is that since they're building the ship stand there for static fires, ever since they've started with that, they have not carried out any cryo tests there. So right now, Booster 12 did got cryo, but Booster 13 didn't. And I believe ship 32 might not have gotten that either. So there's like a few ships and boosters that are out there at the production site, built, maybe not completely built entirely, because there's a lot of little things that go on, but they have not been able to do the whole cryogenic testing because the whole thing's upside down with all of that construction going on, right? So
right. So a plethora of vehicles lining up for the upcoming flight tests. It remains to be seen if SpaceX will actually fly out its remaining stock of version 1 ships and boosters, or if at some point they'll get enough data from a flight test and then scrap the remainders. if Flight 4 goes completely well, perfectly, do they need to fly any of the current version anymore? I mean, I would hope so, because of course more data, more better, but we'll have to see. Suthi is asking, what is the expected timeline for Flight 4? I'm going to say booster to the pad by the end of... No, I'm not going to say end of March. That seems too soon. I'm going to say booster to the pad first half of April. I'm going to say full stack end of April, and I'm going to say launch in May. And that hopefully is not wildly optimistic. Chris, what do you think?
Yeah, it's interesting. I always say when people ask me about timelines is I like to see the booster complete its static fire test, and then we get an idea of where we are in the processing flow towards launch. Also, I think today is important because once it gets shipped through, it's potentially this week finished. Again, going back to the SpaceX tweet, which was our post, was where they said static fires, as you correctly pointed out. The suggestion is they may do the full validation firing and then do a deorbit firing, like did with Ship 26. So it's a case of once that's complete, that's the ship ready. And then we're just all eyes on the orbital launch mount, ready for them to cater to taking the booster on there and then doing the static fire test. Then we can just basically got the final milestones of stacking and doing the wet dress rehearsal. So it's not that far away. I think if anything's holding it back on a timeline, it'll be whatever repairs they have to do to orbital launch mount. But as you got some amazing photographs, Jack, of the back end, the guts of the booster quick disconnect. It did look quite bleh, but that's a technical term, by the way.
Yeah.
At the same time, this is SpaceX. They can do things in no time, and we've seen how fast they can repair things like the booster quick disconnect and the ship quick disconnect, which I can't say two in a row without my teeth falling out, because it's a booster here we go. Booster quick disconnect is for the booster fueling, whereas a ship quick disconnect is for the ship fueling. So those two things need to be ready to go before they can even think about doing a stack wet dress rehearsal. Never mind a booster quick disconnect for the static fire test of booster 11. So again, long-winded, but I think I'll get a lot more confidence in potentially a May launch, which it may be June by the time they get everything, all the dots and everything completed with the paperwork side of things. But I think we're closer when we get the static fire test for the booster.
Yeah, I agree. Alex, any thoughts?
I do think that we're going to get those static fire tests done in April. And essentially both vehicles will be tested in April. And then they're going to go through maybe a month period of, modifications and preparations for flight. We'll see.
Yeah, makes sense. All right, good question. Let's keep rolling on here as we watch this frost line rise. It's been hot out in Starbase the last couple of days, and the condensation coming off of this frost line, it was just getting obliterated by the daytime heat. It kind of looks cool. Let's see. Ross is asking, do you think the FAA can keep up with SpaceX ambitions with the launch cadence?
Well, as long as everything goes well, it should.
Yeah, I don't necessarily even think it's the FAA keeping up at this point. Remember, the mishap investigations that occur after a flight where things do not go perfectly nominally are led by SpaceX in partnership with the FAA. So I think for the most part, as fast as SpaceX can go, the FAA will support. Now, there were what was it, the congressional hearings where essentially it was said that the FAA needs more resources in order to successfully, I guess I should say, accommodate SpaceX and also all of the other new space players that are coming online. So hopefully the FAA gets the resources it needs, and hopefully it's not a bottleneck. That's my thinking.
I will say, look at Falcon 9. It's basically flying 3 times a week. The FAA handles that, right? But the only difference with the Starship is that it's not that it's bigger or whatever. It's that it's a development program, right? It's not an operational vehicle. So every time you fly, Starship has an issue, and then a mishap investigation happens. Whereas Falcon 9, it flies perfectly on the dot every single time. Like, I don't even remember the last time they had, because sure, they have scrubs, they have, weather issues and whatnot, but that's prior to launch, right? That can happen with every launch. But after launch, I don't remember the last time we had like a little oopsie even with a Falcon 9, either the booster or the second stage. Obviously, with the booster we had, after it has already landed, we have seen B-10 58, it fell off from the drone ship and everything. Those things do happen, but that doesn't incur in any sort of mishap investigation or anything like it. So that's sort of the thing here. Once the Starship gets to a point where every single mission nails it and they don't have any sort of mishap investigation or anything, then I'm mostly sure that they're going to be able to keep up. The problem will be even further beyond that, right? It's like, what else when they're launching 3 times a day instead of 3 times a week? That's the big the big variable here and the big sort of question. But the exciting thing is we're gonna figure that out because it's gonna happen.
I can't wait. I cannot wait. I'm so excited to see this vehicle mature into a fully operational system. I'm just so excited. Let's see. The nuclear jellyfish, interesting name. They say, has any Booster 11 testing happened yet? Might we see it for a static fire soon? Yeah, we talked about that a few minutes ago. Booster 11 has been cryo-proofed already. It should have its engines installed, and we're expecting it at the orbital launch site essentially as soon as the OLM and associated GSE is ready to receive it. I mean, there is still some refurb work that needs to be done between flights. As Chris was mentioning, the booster QD hoses that we saw removed in the last week also talked about in Starbase Update. So yeah, definitely some work to be done on the pad still before Booster 11 can roll out, but essentially as soon as it's ready to go, Booster 11 should be ready and waiting. Mark Mons is saying, I recall a reported anecdote a few years ago of Elon addressing a group of space scientists that Starship could someday enable 100 tons to the surface of Europa. The response was stunned silence. You gotta love SpaceX and Elon for stuff like that because it's, on the one hand, absolutely bonkers, and on the other hand, I mean, if you're doubting SpaceX, you're putting your cards. I'm mixing metaphors. If you're doubting SpaceX, you're betting on the wrong horse. There we go. I said horse, so Chris will be happy.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
The fun thing about Europa, we could do some movie references again there, couldn't we? Attempt no landing there. This is the thing about Starship. People rightly say this vehicle is a moon lander. It's for Artemis. It's going to be for the moon. But also, they know that Elon's long-term plan has always been about making life multiplanetary, which involves a self-sustaining city on Mars. And the amount of upmass that requires a vehicle like this that's capable of launching a huge amount in staging and then being sent via refilling to Mars and then placed on the service, and then for it to eventually be able to cater for itself without need for resupply. It's an incredible long-term plan, but also we go back to the earlier briefings that it did show renders of Starship on planets further away. There's plenty of staging post ideas there. There's plenty of long-term plans where it could be the Solar System Explorer vehicle. And I love bringing it up, but point to point, I will die on that hill. I think point to point, if the regulatory approval comes through for at least one single route to prove the technology out, like Concorde, the London to New York route, I do think that could be a massive thing that could end up funding towards these long-term goals. But the vehicle is so capable of so many different things. I always like to use the phrase, it's what everything shuttle wanted to be, but even the space shuttle could never even think about some of the things Starship can do. It was stuck in low Earth orbit. There was no way around it. The For All Mankind episodes where we saw the space shuttle going to the moon was not a thing.
No spoilers. No spoilers.
It's okay. That was about 2 series ago. If people aren't caught up that far, yeah, that's not a spoiler. That's ages ago.
All right,
But,
fine.
There's no way really we can compare in that way. The only reference we can make with the space shuttle was that it was meant to be rapidly reusable. That was the whole goal of the space shuttle. It never achieved it. Whereas this vehicle has every chance of achieving that. So yeah, I think it's got every possibility of being the primary vehicle for deep space exploration, not just the moon and Mars, but also the big goals of planets further afield, which in our solar system, which is incredibly exciting.
It really is. And exciting is the best word for it. And once again, if you're doubting SpaceX, you're betting on the wrong horse, because if you've been around for long enough, you remember when people were saying, oh, they could never land a first stage booster. And even if they could, it wouldn't be economically viable. And even if they could, they wouldn't be able to reuse it. So many things over the years, SpaceX has just clowned on all doubters. So I try my best to give them the benefit of the doubt, even when sort of bold statements are made. Steve Humphrey, thank you for becoming a PadRat member. Jay Heath, gifting 5 Red Team memberships. Thank you for that. Matthew A0272, thank you for the 5 Curly L's. They say, when SpaceX have the super heavy booster down pat, could they swap from steel to carbon composites for a lighter weight? What you're asking is, when they have it down pat, would they change everything completely and start from scratch? And, never say never, but I would be shocked. Alex, do you think they're going to switch back to carbon?
I mean, I don't really see that happening. They have already nailed down building stainless steel vehicles already. I don't really see the motivation to switch to carbon fiber now. I don't really see it. Not like it wouldn't happen ever. Like, I'm not saying, oh, it will absolutely not happen. But I just, I don't see them, in a whim saying, hey, let's change back to carbon fiber. Why not?
Right. Hey, remember that thing we abandoned because all of these reasons? Let's go back to that. But, you never know. Maybe they're working on carbon fiber tanks in the background still, and they'll figure something out. Even just like an expendable Starship that's like super extra light so it can loft an insane payload. And then they chuck away everything else so they don't have to worry about heat shield and I don't know, some kind of, I am 100% here for some kind of expendable Starship. I know the whole point of Starship is full reusability, but at the same time, the super heavy booster is so insane and capable. It's like, yeah, man, let's just start throwing stuff into orbit with this thing. Build some. You've got a nice big factory you're building. You should be able to crank some super heavies out, right? Thanos is asking, I will be visiting the US in May. Any chance you have a viewing ellipse ready? Sorry, my brain is on the eclipse that's coming up next month. For Starship test flights, so I can make some basic arrangements. I mean, the ellipse would be, at this point, I think, May. And the center of the ellipse would be centered on the center of the month of May. And as always with Starship and with this program, it's a milestone-based process. And so for all of the dates to hold, which we don't have a firm date yet, but we have some statements and things we can extrapolate from, like the FCC request that SpaceX made for Flight 4 and comments from Gwen and Elon. So I think mid-May is the center of the ellipse. The ellipse extends to either side of the month. And to get there, sort of everything needs to go smoothly and right. Meaning today we need to get a static fire with Ship 29, and SpaceX then needs to either conduct a second static fire doing that simulated in-space burn or whatever else they need to do with it, and then roll it back to the launch site and continue working on this vehicle, add the Starlink antennas, add whatever modifications they need to correct the roll control issue, finish off the heat shield, all that stuff. But provided everything goes right, I think mid-May is a pretty good bet. Chris, would you agree?
Yeah, I do. I think also, providing again they have the success that the water deluge system has brought to the pad, there's an every chance that we could even look at IFT 5. If they launch cleanly and the pad is in good condition, we may see booster 12 and ship 30 beating the timeline we're seeing right now. So if you've been an avid Starbase follower, as most of you have been for such a long time now, where there is kind of gaps of months between flights, that might be going away this year. We might be seeing a continued amount of events going on because it's not just the launches, it's all the testing in between. So we're going to see quite a lot of activity. There won't be a dull week at Starbase, put it that way.
Right. I think it's going to shape up to be a very exciting year in Starbase. I mean, and it's already been a pretty darn great one. But I'm sorry, Chris, did you say Starbase Watcher or Starbase Viewer? No, it's Tank Watcher. Come on.
That's true. Yeah, back to the old days, there, isn't it? I'm trying to lose my old ways, but it has been tank watching. I remember the test tanks. We used to be getting excited about test tanks going pop. It doesn't seem that long ago, but it has been a massive progression curve. Let's remember, I think you yourself, I'm sure, remembers Hopper and the first launch of Hopper. The water towers can fly with Tim next year. So it doesn't seem that long ago. I don't know, maybe it's my age or whatever, but it doesn't seem that long ago. And now they're launching these massive, massive rockets, the world's most powerful and biggest rocket ever built by humanity. It's just crazy to think the progression curve, that where they may be in 5 years' time. That'll be interesting.
I cannot wait. I'm so happy that this program is progressing so rapidly. I don't have to say it, but I will say it. The nature of the human lifespan. We want to see the cool stuff happen while we are still on this planet. So thank goodness it's moving so fast. Moldy Space Industries, we love you, buddy. They say thank you, or no, they don't say that. I say thank you for gifting 100 team membership. Sorry, my brain got all discombobulated thinking about how much I love Moldy. Charles, thank you for gifting 10 red team memberships. Extremely generous of you. Once again, y'all, if you're getting memberships from people in chat, be sure to thank them. If you don't know how to get a membership, it's sort of based on engagement in the chat, and also I think it's a setting that you have to turn on. Is that right, Chris? Am I making that up, or is that true?
No, that's true. There's a setting where you can accept gifts. I don't think it's default on, so you need to check your settings in case it's not default on. And that means you're in the queue. You're in the potential room where you may get picked out by YouTube saying you have been chosen, and you gain the membership. And also, you can't just turn up and I've noticed most of the time when there's gifted membership, it's given to people who I've seen around. So activity on the streams, liking videos, I'm sure all that plays into it. YouTube's a mysterious machine that we don't really know about, as we found out many a time. But that is obviously the two obvious things to do is make sure the settings are to accept gift and to be active around and just basically be part of the community. We've got an amazing community here. As you can see, I've never been on a stream where there's so many gifted memberships, even on much, much bigger channels on different subject matters. I've never seen it this active. So we have an amazing community here helping each other out as well.
We truly do. Y'all out there in viewerland are the absolute best, and we appreciate you so much. And I'm just going to say it again. Even if you don't contribute to what we do monetarily, if you can, or you don't want to, that's fine. You know what? Turn on gifted memberships. Maybe you'll get gifted a membership because our community is just that awesome. And we appreciate all of our viewers tuning in, hanging out in chat, doing what you do, and adding to our coverage. We appreciate you no matter what. Ninja Decimator, thank you for gifting the $10 there. They say world-ending beer fund for Chris B. I think you might need more than $10 for that.
Yeah. Although it probably work. I could walk into a Yorkshire pub and say, oh, I'm just world-ending beer fund. I'm spending it. They'll go, oh, yeah, I've heard about that.
Alex, how close are we to expected engine chill visibility here based on our notional, speculative, but based on data timeline?
In about 3 minutes or so, that should be when we should see those engine chill pipes start to vent.
So right around 12:40 local.
Yep. I can refine that later,
Excellent. All right. Well,
but that's more or less like 3 minutes plus minus 1 minute.
okie doke. We'll keep our eyes on the base of the vehicle for that next milestone in today's testing. James Holbrook, thank you for upgrading to Launch Director. That is outstanding. Thank you so much. You get your name at the end of NASA Spaceflight Live episodes, in addition to all of the other perks, the members multi-view. So if you don't want to listen to us flapping our gums, mostly me, I guess, then you can go to the members multi-view. And guess what? It's all just ambient audio. Or if you also, maybe you do like hearing us flap our gums, you can watch this and the members multi-view and see all of the camera angles. A bunch of cool perks for our members. So we hope you enjoy them, and thank you for upgrading to Launch Director there. Let's see. Bob, thank you for the store purchases. They say thanks for all the excellent coverage, guys. Thank you, Bob. Bideford, thank you for the super chat and for just being awesome. They say, looking forward to Static Fire while showing a house. Go SpaceX. If you're showing a house right now, you should just put SBL on all of the TVs in the house. And if the prospective buyers are asking about it, then you get to have a cool conversation about rockets. I'd rather be flying an X-Wing. Thank you for the support. They say, after watching the Starlink launch that got delayed, I'm officially requesting a Starbase Live with lo-fi option. Maybe even Tim Dodd's music. That would be cool. I'd be down. Maybe we should do like a members multi-view, like music. A members multi-view with music or something like that. I don't know. I'm a big fan of lo-fi rockets you can chill and study to or whatever. All right, well, we're watching 29, hoping we see some engine chill the next minute or two or three. Kevin Weichard is asking, what's your best guess as to how many Starlink satellites will fit in a full stack? Do you think they're volume constrained or mass constrained? My gut says volume, but that said, a 9-meter payload bay is utterly huge.
It's probably going to be volume constrained. It's not about the sort of diameter. It's more about the how tall it is, the whole stack of satellites. And like even the current pest dispenser is not tall enough to fit as many satellites as you will need to essentially get anywhere close to 100 tons. Like not even close. You can probably fit enough that it's like 70, 80 tons. Like it's gonna be a lot of mass, right? But it's not gonna be even close to 100. It's gonna be less. So you will not even get to the lowest sort of estimate of payload performance of Starship.
Man, it's hard to wrap your head around. Starship is such a beast. I love it. Chris is asking, do you guys plan on keeping up with flight patches as SpaceX increases the launch cadence? I feel like this is a question we should have Adrian here for, but speaking completely unofficially, just in terms of my own wants and whims, yes.
I can also confirm
stay
that we are looking at the next patch soon. Soon. Copyright soon. By the way, a programming note. Someone thinks I'm from Hull. I'm from York. Thank you.
Yeah, you're certainly not from Leeds.
No. Sophistication. Don't tell me about sophistication. I've been to Leeds.
Let's see. Pratama is asking, do you think in the future SpaceX might start to decrease the tests per pair of ship and booster before flight? Well, wait a second. Alex, what are we looking at?
There we go. That's the engine chill. It has already started. Okay, I'll put it in my thingy, my spreadsheet.
Yeah, I was going to say, you mean spreadsheet, I hope.
Yeah, because I couldn't come up
yes.
with a name. Yeah.
So what do we see next after engine chill? Is it basically the next thing is static fire?
Yeah. Right now, obviously, it looks like it is tracking to about 1:10 p.m. Central, with a couple of minutes, left or right of that. Probably more to the right, to be fair. Like it might be 1:11, 1:12 p.m. But yeah, around that time, essentially, that's when we expect that test to happen. In the meantime, the vehicle keeps being filled up, and so what we expect probably in the next sort of half an hour that we have until that test, that static fire test, what we're probably going to see is venting from the header tanks of the ship, because they also load the header tanks. So as soon as they start to get loaded, the vents just start coming off from those tanks, and it's gonna be very, very interesting.
Excellent. Well, SpaceX wasting no time this morning, I guess afternoon now, getting into testing with 29. Hooray. Speaking of testing, this is a good question from Pradima. They say, do we think they're going to decrease the number of tests per pair, ship and booster, going forward? I think that's not impossible. In fact, they kind of did the same thing with Falcon 9, right?
Well, yes and no. When you build a new vehicle, you want to know if it's going to be holding up the flight environment, right? So you do cryo tests, you do static fire acceptance testing. So this kind of testing that we see today, it's probably not going to go away. What it's going to go away is once these vehicles come back from space, either the booster or the ship, then we're probably going to, at first, they're probably going to be doing like static fires and, retesting them again. And then they'll stop that. Essentially, that's what they did with Falcon 9 boosters. They are manufactured at Hawthorne. They are tested at McGregor. They do always a cryoproof test of sorts. Then they do the acceptance test, and after that, they are sent to the launch site, either to Vandenberg or to Florida, and then they are flown. It gets back down to Earth. It's recovered, used again, and when it is time to use it again, they don't do the static fire test again. Like they just use it and keep using it and refurbish them. But the first time around, you don't have previous experience on whether the vehicle will actually do anything correctly. And so that's when you do this acceptance testing, as you will. And so this kind of testing that we see on Ship 29, that's the sort of testing that we're seeing. Once they start coming back with the ship and the booster back down to recover, we'll see what they do. But I eventually, I think eventually that's going to be the same thing with as we see with Falcon 9.
Yeah, I mean, 5 to 10 years from now, Starship has 100+ flights successfully under its belt. I could definitely see them getting into a situation where they can reduce the number of tests, once it's just a proven thing. Let's see. Finder Enlil, thank you for the support. They say starships stuck together like 8 would be better for Callisto, Europa, Ganymede, and Io inside Jupiter's radiation belts, but land a base, yeah. I'm here for it. Let's put a base on every moon. Mr. Rich Texas, thank you for gifting 5 Red Team memberships. Jeff Rowe gifting a Red Team membership as well. Oh God, Max E. Is that our own Max E? They say if ship is eventually going to be extended in length, does that make this variant stubby? No, absolutely not. Some more venting from 29.
I will add a programming note, by the way, while we're here. A lot of people in chat asking about the TPS. Yes, they don't repair the final parts of the TPS until they are ready to get towards launch, as we saw with the previous floods. But also, if towers do fall off during a static fire test, don't panic. It's under actually more stress because it's bolted down to the test stand. and that induces more vibrations when they static fire the engines through the vehicle. And that's where you get some tails popping off, compared to a launch where it's released and just going uphill. So don't be too perturbed if you start seeing tails falling off. That's kind of what usually happens. And then they will complete the TPS with the tiles ahead of launch. And we saw during the third flight how well the TPS performed. It looked great ahead of the re-entry phase. So I think they're learning more and more as they go with the TPS and getting a lot of data from it.
Yeah, and Chris, right now I'm re-listening to Into the Black. I just before that listened to Bold Day Rise, which are both really good shuttle books. And really, the TPS on the shuttle was like the big question all the way up to and through launch. I mean, they were so worried about it, they imaged the dang thing with a spy satellite and went through that whole rigmarole super clandestinely to make sure that the bottom of the heat shield was okay. Like adhering tiles to something and then using them as your heat shield is not trivial. And so far, I think they're doing a pretty darn good job at it.
Yeah. Remember, there's more risks to TPS than launch, and re-entry is also the third biggest risk to a flight, which was known during the space shuttle. The third biggest risk to losing the vehicle was MMOD, which is the micrometeorites, the debris that impacts orbital velocities. The space station also is very much catered towards protecting itself from MMOD, as we've seen with holes being punched in solar arrays and things like that. It's something where the heat shield is so important to be kept as intact as possible, but they can lose tiles, as Space Shuttle did, and re-enter fine. It's where you lose the tiles. So this data they got, even from the previous flight, will be helping them understand how the heating, the friction, the plasma affects the TPS, even when they lost the vehicle. They'll get data down on that and they'll get to learn from it. So there's a lot of things they'll be learning at this phase of testing before they feel they've got the confidence in saying, everything's working fine, this is great, we know what we're doing, we know where we don't lose tiles, we know where we can lose tiles, and they'll progress forward with that.
Indeed. Peter C is asking, does anyone here actually miss B4? I do not. But thank you, B4, for your contributions to the Starship program. Chris, do you miss B4, or are you not that sentimental a person?
Not really, no. I think we've moved on. I think if it'd been sooner than earlier, I should say, then probably. But I think we can get attached to vehicles, but without being too silly. That, oh no, they're cutting it in half. I'm so sad. This is terrible. I think there's much worse things going on in the world right now than cutting boosters in half. So no, not really.
I mean, I think I'll always be mad about SN15, but, you know, what can you do? Booster 4, it's like, get it out of here. We need the space. New boosters, let's go. We're going to the moon. Get in, loser, we're going to the moon. Sephora Serpentis Russ, thank you for gifting 5 Red Team memberships. Elliot Slater, thank you for the support. They say, remembering back in the day of overheating camera and the battery swaps with Mary. Good times. Good times indeed. Mary got so fast at those battery swaps.
Yeah.
It was like, battery swap. Okay, it's done. We were like, what? Really? Did you?
Yeah, they were like Formula One pit stops in the end. They were like, basically, okay, we're going to take, Mary's going to do a battery swap, and then Mary's like, ready? Like, whoa, really? That's 4.3 seconds. How did you do that? I always think about that when Rocket Lab do their electron launch, do the hot swaps of the batteries. I keep thinking of Mary doing the battery swaps with the cameras.
We're a go for battery hot swap. SN15, the best ship ever. Thank you for the support. They say, how will other satellites deploy out of the PEZ? I think the answer is they'll either be flat packed like Starlink, or they will need a different door design. So ultimately, different door design. What do we think they're going to do for the door? Like I mean, it has to be shuttle style, like a clamshell, right, Chris?
Yeah, we're thinking, wasn't it called Chomper, where we saw some renders from space?
Yeah, okay, there's also the Chomper style.
Yeah, I think that kind of works for me. That seems something that would work quite well. The complexity of the space shuttle payload bay doors is quite funny because the motors that open the bay doors could not open the doors on Earth. They were not strong enough to open up on Earth. They only worked in space with the the motors on board the actual space shuttle, and sometimes they wouldn't close properly, and you had to close the payload base doors securely for re-entry. So there was lots of things. You'll see
Right.
space shuttle photographs in the early days where they rolled them out with these big yellow bars on top. That was the bars they used to pull the payload bay doors open on Earth. That's how they could get them open. But on space, they had to be lightweight. Everything was lightweight. Everything was about weight saving with a space shuttle. So the motors were only powerful enough to close them in space, and they had problems. So I don't want them to go too space shuttle-y because I know the problems I had with it. The chomper design looked pretty simple. I liked that because it served a purpose.
Can't wait to see it. I just can't wait.
Sorry, Jack. It came to me as I was stopping talking, so it's my fault there. But what happened back in the early days of the renders, we did see a Starlink deploy via the chompers. They had all the Starlinks stacked up in the payload bay, and they opened the chomper and then pushed them out, like you see with a deployment from a Falcon 9 second stage. So they have thought about doing Starlink deploys other than the pairs dispenser via the chomper system. So it's something they've thought about at least. So that might be a way forward if they decide to do a different thing than the pairs system.
Interesting. Alex, do we have any data updates tracking the timeline when we might see a static fire?
Well, so far it is essentially tracking about the same time as I mentioned before. It might be a little bit more to the right, 1:12 p.m. Central, but that's like within the sort of error bars, so to speak, right? It's like usually when you take into account this sort of like for example, one of the indicators is when the frost line appears, and that sometimes is tricky to see because maybe one of the cameras that was looking at the frost line was super far away, and so it was a bit tricky, and therefore you couldn't see the frost until it was a little bit more thick, and so it's a bit of a like it's still good at least within 5 minutes. Let's put it that way. Like it could be 1:05 or 1:15, and then in the middle you have 1:10. So that's sort of the range of possibilities. So we could be within 10 minutes, within 15 minutes, within 20 minutes, but we're getting there.
All right. I wonder if we'll get a siren. The old 10-minute siren. Speaking of the old days. LSR, what's up? Thank you for the support. They say, amazing how far SpaceX has come since that first Falcon 1 launch 18 years ago today. Was that today?
Yep.
Wow.
That one that had the pad fallback. Fortunately, Flight 1 of Starship was not the same. It went away a little bit further.
Yeah, that would not have been great. Thomas Ryman, thank you for the support. They say, got my re-entry club hoodie and now waiting to receive my 3rd times the charm t-shirt today. Great quality clothing, great quality channel. Let's go. Aw, thanks, bud. We're glad you like them. Sanity Bites, thank you for the 40 pounds. They say super leads united. I think Chris might fire me now.
I know. I actually, I replied to him as soon as I saw it in chat. It's a football thing. Leeds as a city is okay. It's fine, but yeah, I'm a York supporter because I'm from York, and while we're not anything close to the level of Leeds United, we always used to see a bus go from York to go and support Leeds, and I was like, no, you support your hometown club. So we don't like Leeds because of that, and that's why we call them. No, anyway, thank you for your support, very much appreciated. Let's not ruin support by bringing football rivalry into this, or soccer as the Americans call it. But thank you very much for your support, Sanity Bites. Yeah, it looks like you're promoted to the Premier League, so yeah, happy days for you. Yeah, well done.
I understood some of the words you just said. I know soccer and Leeds. Jerwa, thank you so much for the gifting of 10 Red Team memberships. Always cool to see your name pop up. So potentially under 10 minutes to static fire. for what will be the starship used on Flight 4, which just a short period of time after the last launch. I mean, this testing cadence, I almost mixed up the words there. This testing cadence is absurd.
I have a question for you.
Go.
What do you think they'll do on Flight 4? Is it going to be the same as Flight 3? Are they going to change something on how they do things? Like, what are your thoughts?
That's a really good question. I mean, I'm just a guy with a camera, so who knows? But to me, I think they'll just try and do the same thing over again. They'll try and get the in-space burn done, which they had to abort on Flight 3. They'll obviously want to have better roll control of the ship, and we already know that there's not going to be any satellites on Flight 4. So I don't know. What do you think, Alex?
I agree that we're probably going to see the same kind of goals there, where they try also to open the door and close it again and things like that. They already mentioned, as you said before, Shotwell already said that they're not planning yet to put any satellites on this flight. I wouldn't be surprised, if they change their minds and maybe they put something in. But whatever it is, it's going to go into that suborbital trajectory either way. So it's probably going to be something that is like an oversized paperweight, right? As I usually call it that. It's not going to be anything functional at all because it's going to re-enter just like the ship. But yeah, that engine. So obviously they need to go up there and have better attitude control and have a better opening and closing of. They say they tested it, but it's like I have my doubts about the success criteria of that test. But obviously they need to work on that payload bay door. They need to work on that engine relight. It was not because the vehicle, like the engines were bad or something. It was just all down to that attitude control issue that they had. So obviously my thinking is that I really want to see them, have a proper ship in orbit that has proper attitude control, so that we can see that engine
in-space
relight.
burn.
Exactly, that engine relight, and also the re-entry attitude to be the correct one instead of engines first entry attitude.
Right. That's not exactly nominal. All right. Well, at this point, I think we will bid you adieu, Chris. Thank you for being on.
Always a pleasure. Yes, I'm going to do some clipping of what we hope will be a static fire test, and I can't multitask, so I'm going to stop talking while we do that. The last thing I want to do is record my own voice going, static fire. Oh, no. No one likes hearing their own voice.
I like hearing your voice, though, Chris.
Thanks, Jack.
All right. Well, thank you. Fire up the Bandicam and stand by, because we could be just minutes away from this engine firing here with Ship 29. And we're going to swap in good old Adrian. Adrian, how you doing?
Hello, everybody. I'm glad to be here for the. Chris did all the heavy lifting into work now, and I'm just stepping in here